Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Britt Kanawha West Hancock Athletics Podcast. This is Dan Kroll, July 23rd, 2025. And tonight I have one of the most successful coaches in West Hancock history, and Coach Paul Sonius and his son Connor, who's one of the most successful basketball players in our school's history. And I can also say state history based on the statistics we're going to get into. And he's now also a college head coach. And again, we'll get into all that. Welcome tonight, fellas. How we doing?
Good.
Hey,
Good. Yeah, we're
uh,
doing well.
been excited for this one. It's been on the calendar for months and months now, and it's always like I'm leading up to one, and then it's finally here, and I'm excited for it. So, this podcast would not be possible without my sponsors that always give to the Sanger Legacy Fund. So dedicated. I have in the honoring legends section, we have Billy Dahlman, the Hartman family, and Paul Hauge. Thanks to all the people that have given to honor those people. And then my episode sponsors, I have Lehman Family Dental in Clear Lake, Jeff and Becky Nielsen, First State Bank, Katie's Salon and Tanning in Titonka, Johnson Drainage, and Pat Kelly and his book, K-State's Wrestling Legacy. You can go to Amazon.com and purchase Pat's book. He's a future Hall of Famer just next month. He'll be going into the West Hancock Hall of Fame, so make sure you can get out there. That's August 29th at the Britt Golf Course. My lifetime sponsors, we have Levi Don Trucking, Window World of Mason City, Doug and Kathy Zool, Pritchard's Auto, Ewing Funeral Home and Monument Company, Triple B's Food Trucks, Swenson's Hardware, Zach and Chris Schlugger, Nick Schmidt, Kelly Real Estate, the Britt Car Truck Bike and Tractor Night Cruises and Mojo Productions, Mike Muth Welding, Stacy and Carrie Gopel, Main Salon, Jason Gardner with Wiffles Hybrids, the Britt Seed Company, Deemer Realty, the Benning Family, the Britt Bar and Grill, Trilson Auto Parts, Cliff Howlett, the Britt Vet Clinic, and Richard Wubin with B&B Egg Sales. Large list there, but I'll always take more that because that means more money's going to the Bob and Linda Sanger Legacy Fund. Like always, we support the West Hancock Hall of Fame, August 29th, another plug there. We give scholarships out to graduating seniors. We support the athletic and activity funds at West Hancock as a needed basis. Anytime there's a team that goes to the championship, wins a title, we help give out awards that the state might not give out. If you want to help with this cause, go to sangerstrong.com or you can get a hold of me to sponsor. Way back when, 50 episodes ago, this is perfect timing, was episode 88, and that was the 2015 boys basketball team. Trevor Nalen and Jordan Savoy came and talked to me, and that was a lot of fun. And Connor was on that team. And then 100 episodes ago, in episode 38, was Jeff Nielsen. All right, let's start with some introductions. Tell us what's keeping you busy these days. What's new? How's the family, job, life, all that good stuff. Paul, we'll start with you.
Well, taking it easy right now. I got DC trip information and stuff we're working on. I've got just got done with driver's ed for about the 25th year that I've been doing that. Of course, I've got my wife Ginger, who keeps me going and keeps me in line. And as you said, we got Connor, and then I've got Cassie, and then of course my oldest daughter Danny, who has husband RJ and her three kids, Aubrey, Lane, and Lincoln. And so, really, truthfully, summertime, after getting done with driver's ed, I just like to relax. Really, don't do a whole lot. So basically, this is just waiting, as you said, getting to the next year of school. I'm not quite sure how many more years I got left. It's been a lot of time, 38 years of teaching, and it's probably about time for me maybe to think about hanging up and just relaxing. Maybe trying to get back at golf a little bit to see if I can try my luck at that. You can see my son laughing because he knows he's definitely kicked my butt here and that now a little bit. So yeah, no, I'm that's kind of what I'm at right now.
Yeah. Well, those college basketball coaches have a whole lot more time than those high school basketball coaches. So
Yeah, I think he's finding out it's not as easy, but he's still having. They don't have all the stuff we have to do yet.
yeah, yeah, he's got a whole staff for all that. He's good. So, and Connor, how about you? What's keeping you busy these days?
Yeah, I'm living over in Sioux City, Iowa right now with my wife Kelly. So she's just finishing up her PT school, so we're kind of settling down over here, and just got named the head women's basketball coach here about 3 months ago. So it's been my first summer kind of taking over in that gig, jumping from the assistant coach to the head coach role, and just kind of learning on the fly, figuring out as I go. And mostly I do a lot of coaching basketball, a lot of playing golf, like you talked about, and just hanging out with friends and family. That's mostly what I do with a lot of my days.
And how are you 27, 28 now?
Just turned 28 last week.
Are you one of the youngest head coaches in the country right now? Do you have a tracking
Yeah,
system for that?
it, and I don't know about that. I got to be pretty close, though. I think I'd probably be definitely towards one of the youngest. Our league's got, especially the conference we're in, we got quite a few older coaches and stuff. So I'm definitely on the young end for head coaches.
Yeah, that's great because I'm a head golf coach at a high school, and it's like I feel like I do that stuff year round, and I'm busy. And I didn't take on that job till I was about 30, but I was a head football coach at 23 years old, and oh my goodness, it is age and experience comes in handy. That's for sure at times. So it's commendable
Well,
that you're at that stage.
I think it takes a lot of having somebody around because I started at 22 with my first high school job, and
Mm,
and I had a lot of help with Jason Teeter at Delgona, who gave me a lot of help at that time. So
yeah.
it's nice to have somebody there to help you out.
Yeah, I'm 38. I finally got a couple assistants, and I'm even like, gosh, do I want to do this? I love it. I was telling Paul before we hit record, I'm like, I'm not wishing away the fall or the winter, but I'm pumped for golf season this spring because I'm gonna have a really good team. But I'm already kind of like, oh boy, here we go. It's just people. I think we're going to talk about that tonight. A lot of people just don't know what goes into coaching.
I
They
told
go to a gym on a Tuesday night or a Friday night or a Friday night football game, like, oh yeah, they just coach the team. It's like you have no idea. Like there is just a lot that goes into high school golf, girls basketball, college girls basketball,
Yeah,
middle school
even for
baseball,
us
you
at
name
our
it.
level, like even next week, like we're in the summer and we have like a 2 day mini camp. So we bring our whole team together for 2 days already next week.
Yeah.
Everybody will be out here playing. We'll do 2 days of that, and then we have a golf tournament on Friday. So we already have a crazy week next week, just kind of putting in some offense and defense, and then already having a full golf tournament too that we got to prepare for. So it'll be kind of crazy.
Collecting NIL money from
Yeah.
all the people. So
Trying.
I yeah, obviously can only answer so much, but is that filtering down into the D3 NAI level and stuff too?
It does a little bit. Yeah,
A
we've
little
done a
bit.
little bit of that at our level. So it's kind of it's not much, but once in a while we've had to do that a little bit.
Yeah. You would maybe see him on the statewide news. Jake Brend, he was on WHO TV for a couple years. He's now the Cyclone Fanatic guy. He was in my youth group, small group for years, and then I actually did youth group with him, helping high school kids. And he was on with Murph and Andy. And when NIL became a thing 5 years ago or whatever, he was a tennis player at Simpson, and he did a commercial with Murph and Andy as what do you say? He was the eighth best tennis player on the sixth best team in the Iowa Conference, and he was doing an NIL thing. I think half of our church Venmoed him a nickel each just to
Oh,
say, "Here's your
wow.
NIL money." And then he did a thing where he'd go watch Wimbledon at someone's house and bring them popcorn and stuff. And at first we thought it was just kind of a joke, and now five whatever years later, we're like, "Oh boy, this is like taking over." It's
Yeah, let's keep it at the college level. It doesn't need to come down into the high
oh,
school, that's
I've
for
I've
sure.
heard crazy stories about that too. It's unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, let's get rolling here. Uh, Paul, you talked about being a head coach young, but when I asked you where you went to school, Woden Crystal Lake, graduated in 1983. I assume you played sports that kind of got you going into the coaching world.
Yeah, we had a lot of my mom was a sports fanatic. My mom, of course, I'll give her the little nod here. She won state as a in at Warren Crystal Lake with Howard Dorman on baseball. They or softball, excuse me. They won state, so I got to give her that
Nice.
little nod that she gets out there. That she's always got over all of us. Actually, I think none of us have actually won state. She has. She's got that one thing up on us right now. So I always give that to her. But she really instilled in us and me and my sister and my brother, Lisa and Scott, she instilled us in the idea that if you're going to go out for a sport, you're going to go out and you're going to work hard,
Mhm.
and uh, and you're also going to be part of that team. So you're going to be, if you're going to play a sport, you're going to be part of the team. If they got practice in the summertime, you're going there. You're going to do this. We didn't take many vacations. Um, I think that's one of the best things that ever happened was just that instilling in me that you got to work hard at what you want to do. You want to be good at sports. You want to get somewhere. You got to win, and it's got to be part of a team. And if you look at what I really want to have with my teams throughout all these years has been the idea of having teams and having people work hard and be aggressive. And one of the things, as I said before, you look at my kids right now. Connor has been very successful at this point in college, and I've got two young daughters right now. I mean, Danny and Cassie, who are actually being coaches too. So we have quite a few coaches right now in our family, and the sports has really become part of the big thing for us. You know, Cassie coaches the eighth graders with one of my former players, and Danny's coaching the seventh graders with one of my former players. So, and my granddaughter in there. So, yes, it's been one of those things that she really pushed us to do things. And I played about every sport there was. I didn't do track until my senior year. The big key at our funny thing in our family is I went and did the hardest one. I did the 400 low hurdles. So I did the man sport in track, as you know, that would be the one that is really the big one. And so that's kind of where I'm from. Went to Nyack for a couple of years, tried basketball there, but I couldn't rebound. I'm not much of a jumper. I think my vertical might have been well, not very big, and I averaged about one rebound a game. So the kids always give me a hard time on that one. So I ended up playing baseball at Nyack for 1 year, and probably what would have been my sport would have been baseball. I was pretty good at baseball, but I love basketball. So that's the one I went and coached. And actually, I coached 15 years at CWL baseball too, along with girls basketball. So
You were the
so
head
I've done
coach?
both those. Huh?
You were the head coach?
I was the head coach for 15 years. Yeah.
Nice.
We got ranked ninth 1 year at CWL. We had a very, very good team. Only 12 guys, but we had a great, great team with three great pitchers to go along in there. And then I went to UNI for my next 3 years. And then, of course, I found my way to CWL.
Nice. I got to bounce off you. You said you only went out for track your senior year. Connor graduated from West Hancock. What
Yeah.
usually happens is guys go out for track their first 3 years because Coach Sanger says go to track. And then you
Oh,
don't go out your senior year because you don't got football the next year to, have Coach Sanger be mad at you. So that's like the anti-West Hancock way to do it.
Yeah, between my dad and Coach Sanger, there was a 100% chance that I was going to be doing track in high school. So
yeah.
You did all
there,
four?
there was no getting out of it. Yeah, all four. Now the last year I did golf and track, so I kind of got I got a little bit of golf in there as well finally.
Yeah. No, I did the first 3 years. I was a weight boy, and then I'm like, I'm done with football. And at the time, when I was playing my senior year of high school, and I was going to go to I wanted to go to Central, but they didn't recruit me as much as I wanted to, so I was going to go to Northwestern. They wanted me. Then I just kind of lost that fire to play football. I was like, gosh, I don't know if I want to do this for 4 years. So I didn't go out for track. And Coach Sanger, this is Bob Sanger, he's like, why wouldn't you just go out? And I'm like, I was a weight boy. Like, I never ran in a meet. Like, still just come out. And now, 20 years later, I'm like, I probably just should have just done it. But
Yep.
then, Paul, you talked about Nyack basketball. I went to Nyack for a year before I transferred to Central. I don't know if I've told this one online. I kind of got that competitive itch back. I'm like, well, basketball was actually my better sport than football. That was what I was probably better at. And so I walked down to the basketball coach's office. I don't remember his name at the time. And I said, "Hey, I was an all-conference basketball player in high school. I'm not much to look at, but I was serviceable. Do you guys have like open tryouts for walk-ons?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's tonight." I went, "Tonight?" I thought he'd say like a month from now. I'd have time to get in shape because I kind of let myself go from my senior year of high school. He goes, "No, it's tonight." And I'm like, "Oh, crap." Went and got my basketball shoes, got to the gym at 7 o'clock or whatever. I'm 6 foot center Dan Crawl from West Hancock. These guys are all 6'8". I still out rebounded all those guys because I could box out and get good position. But watching me get up and down the floor, I'm sure they were like, no, we don't need that. They had me work on some shots. I was probably hitting 6 out of 10 of my threes. And the guy's like, you don't jump when you shoot. And I'm like, yeah, I never did in high school. I just had a set shot and I made a lot of them. But he was like, we just don't really have any room for a 6 foot center that isn't overly athletic. So that was the end of my college basketball days. But
And see that was kind of me. I averaged 20 points a game my senior year at in basketball. Went there, and Konigsmark wanted specific things for his guards. He wanted them to rebound, and I wasn't much of a rebounder. I went off on the fast break. I stayed back on the when they had people had fast breaks, so I never was a rebounder, and that kind of put me in a hole with another guy that came in between the two of us. He picked the guy that rebounded the best, and then I played baseball for Dunbar. And so again, those were two of the guys. And I had a good, I mean, I was first team all conference basketball and baseball and all district football because we played for Thompson. We were Thompson, Woden, Crystal Lake at that time. So yeah, I had a good senior year. Just was not you got that talent that survives in the smaller schools. I just didn't quite have the things needed for. I probably would have been better off doing what Connor did, and that was go to a Division III team and play some JV for a little bit because I did learn how to block out in intramurals and stuff like that. That would have helped me rebounding wise, and that might have also helped me with a little bit more muscle because we didn't really lift weights back at that
Yeah.
time at Woden Crystal Lake. So
No. How many kids did you graduate with at Woden Crystal Lake?
16.
16?
My brother had 9.
Boy, no Titonka back then, so
We don't really like Titonk in there, but we don't really invite TW or WCLT to any of our reunions really too much because they were always a big rivalry with us. So for some reason, Thompson, they were a rivalry too, but we were going to school there already for the big type classes, like Math 4 and English 4 and all those. So we knew those kids already. So.
You get Woden Crystal Lake kids went to Thompson for some stuff?
Yeah, we didn't have those teachers that taught the higher senior junior classes.
Okay.
Like I said, English 4. And so instead of getting teachers just for that, because we didn't have many kids as it was.
Yeah.
We went to Thompson. We would be bused in the morning to Thompson, take 2 classes up there, and then come back. So I took like physics, English 4, advanced biology, those classes up there, and then we'd come back and then we'd take some classes back here. So yeah, so we ended up playing football. I didn't actually have football my junior year. Very disappointing, but nothing.
Logistically, you think Britt would have made more sense. Thompson's a little bit more of a haul, but just depends on what schools would take you and not probably.
And that's maybe one of the reasons. I don't know if maybe back in those days that Britt would have taken us for just to come in to play sports or do things like that. Because the funny part about this whole thing is when my parents were still together, we lived out in Woden. I lived by Eric Bruins. I don't know if you know Eric, but Eric out there, I was in Britt territory. The Britt bus went by me to the north, and the Woden Crystal Lake bus would come into Britt territory, pick us up. My grandpa Sonius was not going to let any of us go to Britt. Britt wanted us, no, we're going to Woden Crystal Lake. It was Woden at that time. He sent his own kids to. And so we've always done that. It was always funny how both buses would pass by and I said, here I am. I'm at West Hancock. And I actually should have gone to school to Britt way back then at that time.
Yeah. So we're getting off track here, but that's fine because I got a question for you. You're a Woden boy. I had grown up here in
Crystal Lake boy.
You're Crystal Lake, okay. You're in the Woden world.
Yes, I am.
So whenever we go home to Buffalo Center, we go through Woden, and I always tell my boys the story. It's now to the point where it's annoying because one of the boys is like, Dad, tell me the Woden story. And the other two are like, no, don't know. I always grew up hearing the story about how Woden got its name. It was about the guy that was on a horse named Den, and he stopped in that area and said, whoa, Den, Woden.
It might have been.
And my dad, in just the last couple years, goes, actually, I've heard that's not true anymore. That's just like a urban legend type thing. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to stop telling my kids that story because it now drives them nuts. But that's always the story I heard, and now I just pass it down as like a dad joke of, oh, he's going to tell that story again. So
haven't you noticed that Crystal Lake's called Crystal Lake because how crystal the water is?
Yeah, it's beautiful there. Yeah, they get as many people there as Clear Lake does in the summer now, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Connor, did you hear much about your dad's glory days? Or is it mostly grandma is what I'm hearing?
I hear a lot about his glory days all the time, how good he was in football and track, and he always says he's a better basketball player than me, but I don't agree with any of those. So, especially not basketball. When you start saying he's a better basketball player than me, then that's too far at that point for sure. He's probably faster than me. I'll give him that one for sure. He was faster than me. Would have been better in track, but not a better basketball player than me.
Well, speaking of you being a good basketball player, let's just jump into, from Paul's playing days to yours, and then Paul jump in at any time because obviously you had a front row seat for the most part to all Connor's games and career. Well, one, if he says he's a better basketball player, you just show him the two state, tournament trophies and say, where are yours
Eh,
from Woden Crystal Lake? But
Very true.
Well,
um,
he had more kids around him than I did at Woncrest Lake that wanted to play.
yeah,
But we taught it. We worked a lot against each other. We had a little good Nerf ball basketball games in our breezeway, which was 10 foot tall. So we really let go in some of those games against each other. I wasn't gonna let him beat me till he could beat me. So
yep. Oh, that
that's
was,
one of those things.
you remember my brother Eric was a good player for North Iowa.
Yep, yep.
I didn't give him an inch until it got to the point where he could beat me, and then I'm like, I don't want to play anymore. But he'd be in tears running to my mom or sister, like, let him win once in a while. I'm like, why would I do that? He's 6. I don't care. He's got to learn. He'll figure it out. He doesn't hate me. He didn't kill me or anything, so we're good. So
That's
yeah.
right.
So Connor, with your dad being a coach, we'll get into Paul's coaching career a little bit later. Start with playing, then go to coaching. With him being a coach at CWL and then West Hancock, assuming you were kind of a gym rat at practices, always had access to the gym, is that kind of what got you started?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up going to all the practices, going to every single game he had. I remember when I was younger, dribbling in the hallway with my grandma all the time, being out there, always working on my ball handling. I can remember, even back when he was at CWL, they'd play a game on Friday night, and we'd go home and we'd rewatch the game, and I'd be helping him stat it. I'd always be asking if I could stat the games. I probably was giving those kids wrong stats back then. It's like a first and second grader, but sure he was giving me a fake stat sheet back then. But I always remember just wanting to help and do anything. I was always wanting to be involved with all his basketball and everything that he was doing coaching, and always wanted to be tagging along with every single thing he had too.
Yeah.
Well, let me give you two things real quick about him when younger. One, when he was young enough, those bleachers where you can put your feet underneath and in there, whatever.
Mhm.
We'd give him some M&Ms and put a little stat sheet there, and he would sit there with himself in the bottom, and then on top he'd be filling out the stats for the girls. And then probably the worst one he'd probably do is he was very, very critical of his sisters. Got himself in a lot of trouble because he was going to tell them exactly what they should be doing, and not a good thing after they come home at nights.
Especially after a loss.
Yeah,
Yeah. My,
yeah.
Danny especially did not appreciate my comments. I mean, she didn't like as a junior and senior in high school, she didn't like first and second grade Connor giving her comments on the game she played that night and her turnovers and things like that. So it didn't go over too well usually.
Yeah. You learned what an assist was at a pretty young age, and we'll
Yep.
get into your career totals here. You had 728 assists, fifth best in state history. I got to ask now that you maybe messed up the numbers in Paul's team. Was there any like rewatching the tape and reworking the assists and being like, he took 4 dribbles after that? Give him the assist. It's good, or were they all legit?
I gotta say they were all legit. I might even
Okay.
missed a few. I don't know, but it, it helps a lot when you got a lot of players that can make shots around you too. That makes life a lot easier getting assists when you got a lot of really good players playing next to you, and a lot of good teams that knock down a lot of shots for sure.
Yeah. Well, when I played, so Robin Drake was my coach. I graduated 20 years ago. We were a slow down, run half court set type stuff. And then we see like Brian Peterson, we see the Paul Sonius girls stuff, and they are just going and going and going. We're like, man, that would have been fun. And then some of us, classmates and teammates at Hobo Days having a few drinks together, we're like, there was a reason coach didn't let us run like that. We were all good athletes. We were good football players. We couldn't create our own shots very, like we had to have them set up for us in a half court set.
Yeah.
I benefited from just the low post stuff, getting offensive rebounds and stuff like that. But Coach Drake was a very good X's and O's technician. And we're like, that would have been so fun to run like these teams. And then we're like, we were probably suited for what the coaches had us do. So when I look at your stats, like I think I had about 250 points my senior year. And that was a pretty good point total for a senior basketball player at West Hancock at the time. Then I see like, geez, this team had like 6 guys that did that. That's but a different style of play, and obviously because you guys had the ability to play that way, and then it just became a culture, and you learned how to play that way. We were a half court set team, so
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
I
they
think
play. Oh, good.
coming in from freshman year, it was we played that way, but it wasn't always as pretty as it became by the junior and senior year at times. I mean,
Yep.
we had a lot of guys that wanted to play fast, but we weren't necessarily we weren't playing a lot of defense. We were mostly just running up and down the floor, playing a lot of offense, and we kind of figured it out. But we just played off each other so well that it allowed us to play fast. Everybody kind of understood like. As soon as we get that rebound, we're gone. Everybody's getting out and running, and we're playing fast, and we share the wealth, and kind of everybody gets good looks, and everybody's going to get what they want at the end of it all.
Yep. And
I
there
think
was, oh, go ahead,
I
Paul.
think AAU. I think AAU helped that group because it wasn't just the AAU by the individuals. They actually played a lot of games. We took them to a lot of tournaments. They played a lot of games, and that got them all going out and going. And as I said before, I think one of the things, as you said, assist for Connor. The first thing him and I, when we talked, and how I wanted my point guards, I wanted the same thing from him. He learned how to be a passer first
Yep.
and the shooter second. And I think if you're going to have a great point guard who's going to be the one who's going to distribute and do those things, you got to learn how to make those passes first.
Yep. And I think a great example of that is Caitlin Clark right now. Um, we're season ticket holders for Iowa, so we got to see her up close and personal where our tickets are, our seats are. You could see those passing lanes so perfect from our angle. And I was like, I would rather watch her pass the ball than shoot it any day of the week. She
Yep.
was a great shooter in college. She's a great shooter now. She's slumping, but in this slump she's having when she's not injured, she can still produce by dishing out 8 to 10 assists a game. Like even if your shot's not on, you can still do lots of other things out there, and that's 728 assists. You made yourself valuable in every single game, obviously. So just yeah, that was a fun brand of ball to watch, and a lot of good memories there. Um, let's skip ahead here. Your freshman season, you started every game. Um, 270 points. Like your freshman year, you outscored me as a senior. So then I'm like, I don't have a record book for boys basketball yet, but I'm like, man, these teams are great and all, but I'm slipping down the list. But the cool part about West Hancock is no one cares about their individual records.
Yeah.
Um, I keep track of all the football stuff, and I'm slowly working on all the sports. Everyone's cheering for each other to break records because they know that's going to mean success. That's the cool part.
Yep.
Um, yeah, 270 points, 114 rebounds, 171 assists, 71 steals. Team was 9-15. Bound is kind of weird right now. They transferred quick stats over. They have standings for conference, but they don't match up if you go to the results and count things. So some of these might be off a little bit. Same thing, Paul, in your when we get into your coaching stuff, but losing record essentially that first year.
Yep.
But you guys were pretty young. Sophomore year, 2014 would have been that end of the season. You guys were 13-9 according to Bounds, so you had a nice bounce back season there. Um, 335 points, 53 steals, 141 assists, 93 rebounds. What stood out to me, even in your first 2 years, your free throws. Like you took 106 free throws your freshman year, 171 your sophomore year, 163 your junior year, and 158 your senior year. Like you attempted more free throws than a lot of people attempt shots in a career, and you do that every year. Like, how'd you get to the free throw line so much? What was your?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it was just, I mean, constantly, my whole goal when I played the whole time was try to get to the paint as much as possible, whether that was for me to score or if it was to drive and kick, drive and dump down to other players. Like the whole time I was out there was how can I get to the paint and make plays out of the paint the whole time. And I think a lot of times that ended up with me, getting to the free throw line just because just sheer paint touches, continuously going at the rim, trying to make plays at the rim for myself and others, and ultimately just getting a lot of fouls by beating defenders and getting all the way to the rim on those.
Yeah, yeah. Junior year, you guys make it to state. First time in 80 years, Britt boys basketball made it to the state tournament. I went to that game. I was teaching at Nottoway Valley. They played the 10 o'clock game or whatever the first game was. Then you guys played at 5 or 6. I don't remember the exact timings of the games. Um, ran into was Coach P the athletic director at the time as well. So
Yes.
Yep.
you guys were sitting up top or somewhere, and I was talking to some people, and he was around. I said, Coach P, did anyone try to reach out to anyone from the 1930 boys basketball team? And he goes, I'm pretty sure there's one still alive, and he's not going to be able to make the trip down to Des Moines. But yeah, it was 85 years.
Yeah.
Talk about just that. experience of being that team that kind of broke that massive streak and uh, all that time you put in the gym, being with your dad, your teammates, AAU, getting to state.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that one was really special because I think there's a lot of us that had just talked for years about being that team to finally get over the hump and get to state tournament. I know me, Nate, Trevor, Jordan, Dylan, like Ben, all those types of guys. We constantly talked about, growing up like being the team to go to state, right? We watched even just growing up like watching like Gerardo and Jacob Patterson and even those type of guys. We were always like we want to be that team when they couldn't do it, to get to state and get over that hump. And I think it was kind of that season was kind of special because it was kind of a culmination of like all the hard work that we put in. All those guys will tell you we grew up playing on the courts behind the library almost every single day. We'd be going up there, playing pickup games every day. I traveled around playing AAU with Nate, playing AAU with Dylan. I was lucky enough to when I was kind of in like fifth and sixth grade and I moved here to Britt, I got to play up a grade. So I got to play with Jordan and Trevor and Joey DeHart and all those kind of guys growing up. And then I also got to play with my own grade. So I got the opportunity to kind of play with every one of those guys growing up throughout the years. So when we made it to state with that group for the first time, it was kind of that culmination. It was a super special feeling of like, we finally did it. We've been working this hard. The first 2 years had some ups and downs. Obviously, a lot of growing in the sophomore season, but still didn't get where we want to be. Lost pretty badly in the first round our sophomore year. So it was a really cool feeling just to be able to get over that hump and play really well in the sub-state game to get there as well and be the first team to do that in 85 years too was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Was the sub-state game close? I don't recall off the top of my head.
No, I think we played Nashua Plainfield in the sub-state game. It was over at Mason City High School, and we kind of jumped on them early. We got up really big. I think Trevor had a pretty big game. He hit like 1,000 points in that game too, so it was kind of a cool thing hitting 1,000 points for him. It was kind of a cool thing that year. Me, Trevor, and Nate all hit 1,000 points in the same year, so it was kind of a cool
Nice.
thing for us to all do that in 1 year. But I think we got up like 20, 25, and then they kind of crept back into it a little bit. We never really got too close. We were able to hold them off the whole time.
Paul, what do you remember about you'd been to state, we'll get to your coaching here in 2011, 2012, but to watch your son do it on the boys' side.
Oh, that's a proud moment. The girls one just is take. I was taken back by getting down there for the girls, but when it's your own child and you see him get down there, that's a very proud moment just to see because I know where he's came from. He was already playing in AAU tournaments as a third grader, playing up with Todd Terhart from Algona, and those boys over there. And then he got with all the boys around West Hancock. He put in a lot of time. And one of the things that, with Ginger and I that we talked about was I wasn't going to force him to go up to the school because he has that ability to go to school being a coach's child. And no, he was the one who asked me, Dad, I want to go to school. I want to go up and shoot. I want to work on things. And so that's what I think makes it even more proud is of him and the things he did back then is because of what he did. And again, I coached some of those boys too. So it was very, very proud of me just to watch all those boys make it down there. So,
Yeah. And as a coach, you're always thinking of all the responsibilities. The next thing, you got to just be dad, at that point and just
that is a lot of fun. Yes.
yeah, stressful. My boys are fourth graders. They just won the Little League championship, and I'm the dad. I'm not crazy, but you're just kind of pacing around the back, and you're just like, oh boy, and I'm like, good Lord, this is fourth grade baseball. But there's that stress that comes with it because you just want your kids to do well. But at the end of the day, it's just fun. It's supposed to be fun
Well,
anyway.
for me, I was nervous and stressed a little bit. Not like my wife, Ginger is known in the West Hancock area as when it gets to the fourth quarter, she leaves the arena, heads out to the hall, has missed a lot of Connor's games and a lot of her girls' games, and will watch him on the video afterwards because she
Mhm.
doesn't want to be in there. She gets so nervous and anxiety gets a lot to her there. So yeah, I'm kind of that one who stayed in to watch. And
Yeah.
as I said before, like I said, I like that he really worked hard. I think Coach B did a great job. Coach B and Jay and those guys did a great job with those boys, and it was fun to see them go from being the young guys to guys getting down there. And of course, having made it already a couple years before that with the Malin girls,
Yeah.
and Connor always with Anna and those guys because he'd being there, so he wanted to make it down there too, and I think that kind of helped give them a chance, knowing that they could get down there also.
Yeah. So the first round of state, Connor, didn't go well. Was it
Oh,
Danville?
yep,
69-47, something like that. I've
yep.
heard from people the sub-state. Oh, you got the picture? Nice.
One
Yeah,
of
that
the
was
best
cool.
pitchers in the
That's one of my
world, in my
favorite
opinion.
pictures.
That is amazing.
Yeah, like I've heard the sub-state final is the best night of the year because it's the buzz of who's going to go to state, and then when you win, you get that whole night to celebrate and cut down the nets and the fun. And like my brother made it in 2012 with North Iowa, and they got destroyed by Nottoway Valley. I remember we was at the McLeod Center, UNI's arena, and they beat AGWSR handily. And that whole night was just, we're going to state. It was just like that buzz of we're going. And
Yeah.
then they get to state and get destroyed. And we're like, well, that was kind of anticlimactic, you know. But they say the sub-state night, I've seen it firsthand. Oh, that's just a blast because it's like the culmination of we did it. We get to celebrate. You got a week until, sometimes 10 days until that first game. And then
Yeah.
state's just kind of weird almost at times. Like it's just a
Yep. I think
not
it's
weird, but you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, okay.
yeah. I think especially with that team, like we it was that first team going to state. So like we had never made it. So that sub-state night was like this was our goal. That whole goal that year was to get to the state tournament. And
Yeah.
I know Coach P talked about that a lot. It was like we're getting to the state tournament that year. And when we did that, like you said, that was like the best night. We were basically, reeling with that for the next week. We just made it, we made it, and we didn't, probably didn't lock in enough on Danville and being as prepared for them as we needed to be. Just, being so excited about making the state for the first time. And then I think just playing in Wells Fargo Arena for the first time is kind of a crazy experience. So
Yeah.
it's like you're playing in the big gym, the floor's different, it's a little bit bigger, it's the bright lights, you're kind of on that stage. And I think Danville is a team that they had a couple of twin brothers, the Suka brothers, that were really, really good. And so I think it was kind of one thing they'd been there before. Uh, they knew what they were doing down there. And it was kind of a thing for us first year up for all of us. And we're kind of like, oh, wow, the bright lights got to us a little bit, I think, in that,
Yeah.
especially in that first half. And we tried to claw back and it was just a little too much.
Yeah. At the end of the day, 90 some percent of the state's envious. They would love to go down there and get their butts kicked by 20 and actually be there. So it's one of those catch 22 things. I've
Yeah.
said this on a couple other podcasts. My favorite memory of that whole thing, Coach Sanger. I'm sitting there watching the Nottoway Valley game. That's about halftime. Someone taps me on the shoulder. It's Coach Sanger. Sits down. Mr. Kroll, how you doing? He sat there and talked to me for like 4 hours that day, and that's more than I had talked to him combined. Because he's, him. He was got to
Yeah.
talk to this person for 30 seconds. I need to talk to this person for a couple seconds. I need to go do. It's just small pieces and bits, and just spent almost the whole day chatting with him. That was one of my 2015 state basketball moments. Just a lot of times these big things where the trophy comes home, it's the little things that go with that people remember, just the little memories. So
Yes.
that was kind of my highlight as well of watching you guys be at state and watching Nottoway at state, and it's just the kind of the people around you that make it pretty cool. So
Yeah, I think one of the cool things, obviously, you've already talked with the 2015 seniors and those kind of things, but just getting to help them go to state too for their final year with Jordan and Trevor and all those guys. Like I know the work that those guys put into, and so it's cool for them. Like we had that starting lineup, my freshman year where like Trevor and Jordan were only sophomores, me and Nate were freshmen. So for our group to kind of grow up together through all that time and then make the state tournament and get to see Trevor and Jordan and Joey and all those guys go out on top or, making the state tournament was kind of a cool feeling as well, too.
so for you guys, what was it like in that off season going into your senior year, 2015, 2016? You were kind of happy to get there the first year, and now we're not just going to be happy to get there, I assume.
Yeah, I think we were super hungry. I mean, I think it was the cool thing about that was like, so, I mean, you lost three starters off that team. Me and Nate were the only two returners, but like we had a bunch of young guys, Dylan, Ben, Seth Weiland, a bunch of those type of guys that they were ready to step up too. Like they were ready for their turn to be a part of the action. Myself and Nate, we were guys who had been, 4-year starters. So, by that point, I feel like, Coach P, Coach Ice, Coach J, like they did a good job of just giving us the reins to kind of lead the team and do what we needed to do. And they knew, with me and Nate and Dylan and some of those type of guys, like the work that we were going to do in the summer, like we were going to show up and have everybody ready to go by the season. So that was something that like for us was we wanted to win the whole thing. Like we set that goal at the beginning of the year. Like our goal is a state title. Like that was I still feel a little let down that we didn't get it. So that game still kind of haunts me a little bit, but I know our goal was to win the whole thing that year for sure.
Yeah. Refresh memory. Who'd you beat in the first round?
We beat ICAM Manning in the first round, so we played pretty well in that one and beat them in the first round.
And the semis was
That's when we lost. We lost to St. Albert's in the semis
St. Albert, and then we beat Gladbrook Rhinebeck in the
in the third.
consolation.
Yep.
How do you feel about that consolation thing? You got to end your career on a win, but I've seen some of those consolation games. You could tell those kids it was state championship or bust. Their bodies were there, but that was it. And some of those games are just horrendous to watch. Yours was 5 point game, I think. So both teams came to play and were wanting to
Yeah.
play a
It
good game, but some, oh my gosh, it's a 40-point blowout. Who cares, you know?
it was tough to get up for. I know because I mean the game was at like 9 a.m. in the morning, so it was a super early morning game. So got to get the consolations in before the championships.
Yeah.
And it was the cool thing was for us. I mean, we got the win and we got to finish, with a win to end our careers. Got to hold up that third place trophy, all that kind of stuff. But I was 50-50 on it. Like that night, I was like, I don't want to play another game tomorrow. Like I said, we didn't reach our goal, like you kind of said too. Like it was like I don't know if we got another one in this. When we got out there and played, it was kind of like okay, we're out here playing again. We get one more opportunity to play with our guys here. So, that was kind of a cool opportunity. But I'm 50-50 on how great it actually was. So
You wouldn't have had 728 assists if it wasn't for that. So it would have been 717 probably or whatever ended up.
that is true. I
Yeah.
think probably my favorite memory from that year though was I mean like you talked about the sub-state games being some of the best. So we played in Humboldt that
Yep.
year for the sub-state game. So we played GTRA that year, and I know. So I've talked to some GTRA people since then, and like not long, a couple years after that, I talked to a few of them, and they were like, that was supposed to be our team to go to state. So it was they had like 4 or 5 seniors on that team as well. So it was like they felt like it was their year to go to state. We felt that same way. It was kind of our year to be there and do
Yep.
something big. And I remember we get to the game and it's like hour and a half beforehand, and the line out the door was just the doors weren't open yet, and there was like 100 people already waiting outside the door. And so I think it ended up being standing room only in there. That's probably the second loudest game I've ever played in my life or played or coached in my life. And I know talking back with a lot of those guys, they're like that game just gave us goosebumps playing in that game. And we ended up starting off kind of slow. I know didn't play very well in the first half, and then Ben Eisman, I think he hit the biggest shot of probably our season. I think we're down probably like 6-8. About to head into halftime. I think I get the ball stolen from me. Guy goes in, hits a layup, and Ben's kind of at half court calling for the ball. They throw it up to Ben at half court, and he ends up draining a half quarter to go into halftime, gets us down like 4 or 5. And I think we've talked about it like that was the momentum flip that we needed. And then we came
Yep.
out in the second half and just played really good basketball to kind of close it out.
Yep. Well, Paul, you know more than anybody probably momentum swings with high school kids. Like you can say if you're the GTIR coach, come on guys, it's just one, and you can just see a 15 to 17-year-old kids shutting down and there's nothing to get them back. Like that
Oh
can,
no, you're right. And like I said, we'll talk probably about one of them for me down at the state the first year. I think it is with Bedford game, where that's momentum that makes a big difference, and all of a sudden it just takes off.
yeah, yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah, no, one of the games I kind of was talking about that senior year, which I still think it was amazing year between for him and all the other boys that were playing. But one of them that comes to mind is the duel, and the duel between Granger Kingland from Lake Mills and Connor at up at Lake Mills, where I think both of them had over 40 points, and it
Wow.
was just back and forth threes, and each one was taking over, going back and forth, and that was an amazing game. Just sitting up there watching it, and I actually happened to be talking to one of the guys from BV, the assistants that happened to come watch Connor play, and so I was talking to him a little bit. So he was just amazed at both guys the way they were going back and forth and
Yeah.
just knocking down shots. So
And that was kind of the beginning of Lake Mills's surge to having really good basketball the last decade or so. It was kind of around
yeah,
that time period where they were good when I was in school, but they'd usually run into like Osage or Clear Lake, or not. No, Clear Lake would have been 3A. There was a couple schools in that 2A world up there that usually knocked them off in like the semis or district finals, but they really took off in the last decade and had really good programs. Yeah. Connor, so you graduate, go off to BV. West Hancock makes it back to state again in 2017. 2015, it was like, holy crap, we're going to state. 2016 was like you said, we wanted to win a state title. 2017, we lose Connor, we lose Nate. Still have a good core back, but to go back a third time is going to be pretty, and Ben and Dylan and
Mhm.
Seth and those guys you talked about. I don't want to say everyone was surprised they made it back to state, but there was a little bit of like, you know, going the third time, that's just odds. Someone's going to get hurt. We're just going to have an off night. There's just, you lost two 4-year starters. Talk about those guys making it back.
Yeah, I think it was a cool thing. I think it was kind of one of those moments that it was like the standard had been set there,
Mhm.
for a couple years in a row. And it was cool to see, Dylan, Ben, Seth, those guys take the torch from me and Nate and kind of take over on that leadership role and see them really step up. And I think one of the cool things about it is like I remember I was always keeping track of their whole season too and seeing how they were doing. And it was a little bit of an up and down season for a while, but it was cool. I came back. Our season was done, so I was able to come back for like their sub-state game, and district final game, and state game, and all that kind of stuff. And just seeing the growth that they made throughout the year, and seeing the leadership that those guys had, and just upholding that standard that we had set the previous couple years as we helped build the program too. It was cool to see those guys just carry that forward, and just keep that level of play up and get it back to a third straight state tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I'm thinking about like football right now. 5 state title games in 6 years. Small town sports, you're one injury away from your whole season going from state title to not even making it to state.
Yeah.
So like 3 years in a row is just logistically sometimes tough because you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't have 3 guys sitting on the bench that are just as good at, West Des Moines Valley that, your backups could win the 2A title because there's just that much depth. You don't have that in small schools sometimes.
Yeah, and I think I mean that making the state tournament that year, I mean it was super impressive. Partly because I mean kind of the offense that we'd had the previous year was pretty heavily centered on me and Nate and kind of what we did and a lot of me trying to make plays with Nate, giving it to Nate, seeing if he could make a play. Dylan kind of as that third option too as well, but a lot of kind of stuff ran through us. I mean, Nate ended up being the leading scorer in school history, and I think I was like second. So for them to bounce back that following year and kind of those guys to step into those roles was pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like to lose the top 2 scorers in school
Yeah.
history and still make it to state, that's pretty darn impressive. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Speaking of stats, 1,649 points, 49 blocks, 305 steals. I added up your totals and I went to the Iowa High School Athletic Association record book. I'm like 305. Where's Connor's name? It's not in there. You should be 29th all time. I did not see it in there, so I'll be sending an email here soon. 728 assists, which is fifth best in state history. Your 230 your senior year is 16th best in a season all time. 557 rebounds, 506 field goals made, 173s, and you made 467 free throws. Again, you made more free throws than people attempted shots in a career. Uh, and you look at those numbers and just go, how many more shots did he put up in the gym in the summer? How many workouts did it take to get those numbers? Some people look at those numbers and go, oh, that's nice, but it doesn't tell the whole story of the hundreds and hundreds of hours and weekend road trips and tournaments and all the things to get to that point. So, um, and real quick, Connor, before we jump into, I can see Paul's just itching to get into the coaching stuff here.
I'm less.
Um,
I'm enjoying what you're talking about. I got no problem with that.
yeah,
You go back to those stats, and to me, one of the things that they don't really put out there, but if you look at his points, his assists, his steals, and his rebounds, they rank not that far away from some of the guys that were up there, Horner and Brownlee, what they did in high school, and all. If you put all those there, he's not that far behind there. But when you said the idea about putting in time, we spent many hours up at the gym, and like I said, we had this one drill where he shoots, I get the rebound, I tell him what to do, one dribble left, one dribble right, spin move, shoot the three. We do that countless hours, and I think that made a big difference because he just reacts. And so I'm fine just listening to you guys talk here. I got no problem. I like it.
yeah.
So I
I
like
just
talking
want
about
I just wanted to go to football real quick.
yeah.
Your freshman year, you guys were 0-9.
Sophomore year.
So 13, 14, 15,
Yeah.
16.
Because yeah, my freshman year would have had Chris Slugger as the fullback that year. That was that class was when I was a freshman.
Okay, so But you graduate in 2016, 15. Yeah,
Yep.
you're okay. Yep, yep. So regardless, you go from like the team almost won a state title 2 years prior,
Yeah.
sophomore year, over. Like just and wasn't we weren't just getting beat by 3 points every game. We were getting beat by 50.
Yeah. It wasn't good.
Um, a lot of people we were like, this could be the end of West Hancock football. What's going to happen? Is Coach Sanger going to be done? Are they going to be able to bounce back from this? I put in that book I painstakingly decided to write a couple years ago. We talk about state championships and runner-ups and district titles. I thought your era was one of the most important eras in West Hancock football history because you guys could have been the group that just said, well, we're a basketball school now, or who cares about football anymore? We're never going to be good anymore. Your junior year, 5-5, 7-3 your senior year, make the playoffs, have some home playoff game, and then we have not made the quarterfinals since. We have like 9 years in a row of making the quarterfinals or better every year. So I just thought that was commendable. Again, what we're talking about, like momentum with high school kids. You could take a group of kids that go 0-9 and just say, forget this, we're done.
Yeah.
But you guys put the work in and the effort in. The coaches stayed positive with you, I think, and I thought that was really neat to see you guys go from very, very low back to where the program's been used to be in. So,
Yeah, that sophomore year that was a tough year
whew.
all around on that football season, that's for sure. But I mean, we were young, and I know coming out, you lose a bunch of guys like Chris and all the great offensive linemen that we had. I know we had a bunch of great offensive linemen that year, and all those type of dudes. And it just didn't go how we thought it was going to go. We kind of went into the season thinking we were going to be a little better than we were, and
Yeah.
didn't do too great. But it was everybody kind of. I mean, at West Hancock, it was like we got to get good at football. So like, there was a bunch of us that, we loved basketball, and we were like, basketball for us was kind of the thing. It was we wanted to make it into a basketball school as well as a football school, as well as a wrestling school. For us, it was how do we add basketball to the mix. But
Yep.
at the same time, it was like we can't let football fall off. Like we still have to, we gotta do a lot better in the weight room, put a lot more work into that too, because ultimately this place is a football school, and we can't go 0-9 again. We have to do a heck of a lot better than that. It's not going to go over too well if we go 0-9 again.
Well, I kind of call myself like the SID because I'm on the payroll per se now, and the historian. We're just a frickin' we win school. That's what I
Yeah,
think West Hancock is. If you look back at
yeah,
Kanawha's history, Britt's history, and West Hancock's history, I think we have almost 50 top two trophies in our trophy cases right now. And was it last year or 2 years ago now, I rearranged the trophy cases to get all the like big ones up front in front of the gym wall. I was like, why are we hiding the state runner up from this sport behind these whatever else? I'm like, let's boom. And people walk by and go, there is state champ, state runner up, state champ, state runner up, and then basketball, it's top eight, top four, or whatever, getting down to the well or whatever. It's like basketball, baseball, back with Kanawha, track, boy, girl, Britt, West Hancock and Kanawha, basketball with Paul's program, and when Bill Hudson had it, and then your group of three in a row, all the football trophies, golf is one for each gender. I'm like, name another small school. There's probably not more than a handful that have won as much as we have just all around the board of all the sports. It's
yeah,
it's pretty cool. And then you can throw in like volleyball. They went to state 5, 6 times in a row back in the 70s and 80s, and it's just pretty cool for a couple small towns to be able to put together what we've put together over the last 60, 70 years. So
yeah. It's a cool thing. I mean, I just like when we were in high school, it's like even with having the bad year of 0-9, like the standard in most sports was still like we need to make the state tournament. That was kind of like that was our goal every year, and that was the standard every year. Which, like you said, there's a lot of schools that they don't have that in any sports really. In a lot of these small schools especially. So it's kind of cool that we're going through multiple sports each year, and it's like the standard is to make the state tournament or make it to a state meet or whatever it is too. So it's kind of cool to have that standard.
yep, definitely. All right, Paul, let's get into it. Let's talk some CWL. CWL here.
CWL. Ooh,
You got real, and we don't have to. We're
no.
gonna have a 6 hour episode tonight. That's okay. That's great. But here we go. Um,
Um,
you said you got into head coaching at a very young age, 22, 23, whatever you were. How'd you get your first job or jobs, and how'd that go? What was the learning curve like, and some growing pains you had getting going as a head coach?
well, the first year I was junior high girls coach at West Hank or at CWL, and had a great 6-on-6 team. They were averaging 60 points a game at that time already in junior high. And then the next year, um, we went. We came from Kanawha. We were actually sharing with Kanawha.
Yep.
CWL was with Kanawha, and the next year they needed a coach, and they gave me the coach of the 6-on-6, and that didn't start very well. I had a great group of young 6-on-6 forwards, but everybody forgets you do need guards too, and in 6-on-6, and my group of girls, they averaged 80 points a game the last 2 years of 6-on-6, but we gave up almost probably 85, 86 points a game because some of those girls that were playing for Sheffield, the Bloods, a couple for TRV, those teams, they had some very, very good girls that had been around a long time. One of my girls, I got to give her a nod too, was an Ann Hobshay, and her name now is Ann Hinders here at West Hancock. So she was a heck of a shooter for me, 20-point scorer in 6-on-6, can knock down threes. But we just 6-on-6. We got 13-9 the last year of 6-on-6 ever. Lost to West Bend, but we just never really clicked. And I don't know if it was me with my defense or whatever. But back then you don't touch girls like you do today. You're not as physical, and if you don't have a 6-foot guard, you can't handle the 6-foot girls. To give you a little bit of an idea, I lost a 6-on-6 game, 99-98. And I lost to Cal, and they had a 6'4" girl. I had a lefty on my team. She averaged 40 some her senior year, but we just couldn't handle the big girls that everybody else had. And so that kind of hurt us a little bit in that regard. And it took a long time. Maybe, and I love 6-on-6. I think it's very fast, very quick. And maybe if I'd had a few more years to have coached 6-on-6, we maybe would have gotten to where we needed to be. But then we switched to go to 5-on-5. CWL, great athletes, not enough, not as many as West Hancock. I wanted to play man-to-man, but again, when you only got 3 girls maybe on your team, 4 that can really play the man-to-man, you can't do it.
Yep.
We did the 2-2-1. That made a lot of difference. But some of the big games that we had where I lost to Dennis Tassel from Central of Fenton too many times to count. Central of Fenton played a man-to-man, help man-to-man come get you, and we played the zone. So it was just if you wanted to see a game that just went back and forth constantly, those games were just amazing. A lot of people liked them. I didn't necessarily always like them because we lost the Tassel way too many times. But I had some good teams, and I had some girls that made 1,000 points. I had one girl that had almost 800 assists. She was phenomenal with the ball. Probably at CWL, the greatest year I had, I believe I was trying to figure it out. It was 2002, my best year to go to state. We won a game at the buzzer. One game to go to state. My school at CWL decided to make one of my girls ineligible for academics right after we won that game, and she was my leading rebounder and my third leading scorer, and that kind of hurt us against Tripola to go to state. So yeah, CWL, it helped me cut my teeth on a lot of things I wanted to do.
I'm trying to put a timeline around when this girl was it Katie Rasmussen?
Oh yeah.
Was she about my age? About 20,
When did you graduate?
2005? I graduated 05.
Yes, she would have been about the same age because I think she was a year younger than Danny. Danny graduated 2007,
Okay.
and so then she graduated 2006. So yes,
She
she was good.
did some damage at state track too, if I remember right. She was a good athlete.
And that's what I said. We had some great athletes at CWL, but just not enough.
Yeah.
And we couldn't go very deep. In some cases, some of my girls' teams wanted to play the JV boys so they could get a little bit more defense, a little bit more going on. So CWL, for being there, we averaged 10, 11 wins. And I thought for getting that many wins there for what we had, that was pretty good. And actually, the team that almost went to state for me probably wasn't even my best teams that I had there. So just had a group of girls that wanted to get playing and get going.
Yeah. And were you, I can't remember the exact year, What year was the last year of CWL before they dissolved and went to wherever they wanted to go? Were you still there, or were you at West Hancock by then?
No, no, I got I was down at state. We went down to state to watch basketball in it was my daughter's senior year. She graduated from CWL. We went down there, and I got a call from a Mary Clark at here at West Hancock. Says, "Hey, what are you doing? You want to come for an interview? We can't find any science teacher, middle school science teacher." She'd been at CWL, so she knew me, and she knew that CWL was getting closer to the end. I would have stayed probably till the end. Um, but I said, "Well, no, I'm at state." "Well, can you get back here?" "No, I'm at state, Mary." And all of a sudden, she goes, "How about Monday?" I said, "Well, okay, Mary, I'll see what's going on." So went and had the interview. Um, then I basically said, "I will. If I take this job, I need a girls' basketball job because I'd done it for 18 years." And they said, "Well, Coach Wilson's the girls' basketball coach." I said, "Okay. Well, he might be willing to give it up." I said, "No, don't. I do not want to force anybody out. I'm not going to force any coach out of that position or whatever." They come back and tell me he said he's willing to be done, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, I'm over at West Hancock, and all I can think of, because I've seen West Hancock play basketball, and I've beaten them a few times, and
Hmm.
from at CWL, and all I could think of athletes, athletes, athletes. That's all I could see in my mind at that point in time, and had to get through a little bit of crying going on by my daughter Danny, who am I going to have a am I going to have a room? I'm graduated. She was the worst one.
She was the worst.
Cassie was a little bit. Connor was ready to go. He was ready to get over to a place where there's a lot more athletes and stuff like that. I think in
Hmm.
his regard, that wanted to play things he did. But it was a very. I'll tell you right now, coming home and trying to talk to Ginger about this movement and all this stuff.
Hmm.
That was probably surprising because you don't usually get that from a graduated senior about
Yeah.
the idea that she's not going to have a room. And I said, "We'll make sure you have a room at the house."
And the nice
So,
part is you weren't moving far. I mean, it wasn't like
no,
you're going
no,
a long ways, so it's not like you're going across the state or
no.
crossing borders or anything. It's just you'll still be close enough to, come back and see people and do stuff. So, did you ever coach against Bill Hudson when he was still at Britt?
Yeah, a little bit. I think I got him for about 1 or 2 years, I believe.
Okay. Yep. He had, the program, he started that in 72 and did that until the early 90s and had a great program and
And I believe I lost to him. I think in those early days, I know I didn't beat him. So
yeah, because when was your first year that core with like 88,
80,
89?
89 to 90 was my first high school year there.
Okay, and so they
So,
were just coming out of that kind of golden era that they had had for
yep.
a decade plus, but they still were pretty respectful. In the mid 90s, they kind of had their ups and downs, and then um, you know, up and down a little bit too until about when you got there. Who was your
Yeah, well,
first group at West Hancock that you coached?
my first group at West Hancock that I coached was Sammy Carduce, um, Swenson, um, uh,
Was Mary
also,
Jo DeBoer on your first team?
no,
You might have
no,
just missed her.
I just missed her. Yeah, at that point. So we had a great that group of seniors. Like I said, I moved there. It was awesome getting Kevin Wilson to help me. Who and I don't know if you know, he goes. We always say he goes by the name Coach Goose.
Yeah.
Um, but he was awesome because he came in. He was willing to help me, and I was always worried about how it would be with him, having been his team for 4 years.
Mhm.
But he came in, he worked, and that first team, I'll tell you right now, they gave me everything that I could ever want as a senior because I came in and said, "Give me 4 years. You can't." When I always say as a coach, if you go in and think you're just going to win every time right off the bat, that usually doesn't happen. I
Yeah.
said, "Give me 4 years." But that group actually did some amazing things, played some great games. They were willing to listen what I wanted to. They picked up on my 2-2-1. They got aggressive on the man-to-mans. Um, and of course, to have a scorer like Sammy Carduce was kind of a nice situation to have there. And then, of course, you have girls, as they said. Molly Swenson was one that changed a little bit in what she was doing. And I had some young girls. I think my own daughter, Cassie, played a little bit. Morgan. Um, um, I know I'm missing some. I got to be careful here.
Yeah, don't
Uh,
worry about it. I always tell people
but
you're never going to get everybody. Don't worry about it.
well, and I feel bad. I should have. I never. I didn't think about that. I tried to make sure of some of the teams and didn't think about that first one because that first one is a valuable one. And the reason why we beat Garner that year, something that they hadn't done for quite a while, and we beat Garner in the districts and end up going to face North Butler. And that's when North Butler had Clipperton at the
Yeah.
helm and everything else, and they were tough. We went down there and they just literally they pushed us, shoved us. We'd come across the middle, we'd just get bumped and girl go flying. And on the way home, Coach Goose and I talked to ourselves and said, weight room. That's where we need to be.
Yeah.
These girls need to get in the weight room. And that's what basically began probably the idea that led up to the next team coming in. That would be the state tournament team.
Yeah. Yeah. Coach Wilson, Kevin's a good friend of mine. I know there was a stretch. I don't know if he still does, but he did used to teach the girls the Dan Crawl way of rebounding. Did that ever come up anymore, or has he forgotten about me by now?
He used to say it early. I don't know if he says anything anymore
I
right
gotta
now.
get him. I'm
But
disappointed, Kevin.
but you know, we say that he has a bunch of different goosenisms.
Yeah.
He has all of these sayings, and he would say have all these sayings. And I think my daughter Cassie said, we need to get shirts sometime that has all these goosenisms on them because he just comes up with some of these. Now today's girls haven't quite fed into it much like he, but those early group of girls, probably about the first 8-9 years that we coached, they really got into the goosenisms. He
Yeah.
would say something and they would all look at him and shake their head and laugh and stuff like that. So yeah. And
I
he's
got to
been
get on
great
him
as an
because
assistant.
I remember he used to message me once in a while. I tell the girls that we had this 6 foot center back in the day that could out
Yep.
rebound these 6'5" kids because the whole conference was full of 6'6" kids, and I was like, "Come on, thanks, Kev. You're keeping my legacy alive of being a slightly above average basketball player. I appreciate it." So, yeah, let's jump into state here. You talked about that next group coming in, had a young group coming in that led to that 2011 state tournament experience. The Malin girls, and
Yep.
we're gonna have to list more of them because I'm drawing a blank right now. But uh, Kelly Schmidt and
Brooklyn Savoy,
yep, there you go.
Kaylee Weiland. You said the Mellon girls, Anna Bruns, uh, Derica Jacobek. Those were the girls. I'll tell you right now. They became they when they left eighth grade, they had one thing already in their mind. They were winning. They were going to get to state. They actually wanted to win state, of course, but that didn't quite get to where we wanted to. But that was them. They were going to get to state no matter what. I think the biggest key for them was the first 2 years. They learned a lot. Actually, well, for Anna and Kelly, it would have been their they would have gone their sophomore and junior year. So yeah, the first year they would have led, but they had so many girls. They had 15 girls that actually play, and probably our second group could have played for most of the teams in our conference.
Yeah, yeah, and that bodes well for practice and
Oh yeah,
preparation, and yeah. So the 2011 season, first time a Britt or West Hancock team had made it since 1982. Bill Hudson, like we talked about, in the
yep.
6-on-6 era. Perfect 13-0 NIC record. Your only loss was to Charles City, 54-44. They're a 3A school. I can kind of remember the old coach's name. And then he went down somewhere south to a bigger school. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he always had a good program, if I remember.
And they didn't have girls basketball last year.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
They would probably be considered a 4A school now with a 5-class system, wouldn't they?
Pretty close, I think. Pretty
Gosh,
close. Yep.
there was 8 to 10 schools that couldn't field the team. I'm like, that is just unbelievable.
Yep.
But
And so, like you said, I think we played that Charles City team. They were good. They beat us. We were in the game the whole time, but the biggest problem right there was I think it kind of hurt us for the tournament because when we lost to them, they dropped us down for playing the 3A team and getting beat by about 8, 9, 10 points by them. And that kind of hurt us when it came time because otherwise we should have been. I really believe we would have been in the championship game playing Martinsdale St. Mary's, but it would have been in the championship game instead of the semis. And I did tell Oswald when he's down there going by me, and I said, "Yep." He looked at me and I said, because the championship game was a really bad stinker, bad stinker. And I think he said, looked at him and said, well, I guess if you'd put me on the other side, we maybe would have had a better game there in that case. But as he walked by, so
Because seeding used to be strictly record,
yeah.
and the boys
Well,
did that too.
well, no, for us it was your placing where you were at in the rankings, and
Okay.
so that's how you when you got to state. Yes, but that wasn't always how they did the districts and stuff like that. But that was how when you got to state, that's what it was.
Yeah, because on the boys' side, it used to be straight up record. Because I remember like West Lyon, some of those Northwest schools, they'd come to state with a 13-10 record, get the 8 seed, and just destroy everybody because they were just had a tough regular season. Pella Christian's done that a lot down here. They go to state with barely a winning record. They get a low seed and they just dominate. Now the coaches get together and talk about, don't they have like a meeting? They have to rank the teams based on,
That might have changed back again. I think.
has it?
I don't think the coach. I don't remember Jordan saying he met about them this year. So I can't. Don't quote me on that one.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure.
But I
But
think when you
Yeah,
get to state, that's what they do.
when we played, it was still record.
Yeah.
When we played, because like we were like the 4 seed because of our record, and St. Albert's, who beat us, was the 8 seed
Yeah, that's
because
what
they
I'm saying.
played
Like
in
these,
that big league over
they
out
play
there. Like,
against Harlan, and they're in
yeah,
that Heart of Iowa or
yeah,
Hawkeye 10.
yeah,
They play 3A schools constantly, and then they play in 1A postseason or 2A postseason, and they pretty good.
yeah.
So yeah. So the Bedford game, you guys were down by a lot,
and
and
down by about 15, 16 points.
yeah, and came back and won 67-59. I remember going down there. I was actually teaching at West Hancock as a long-term sub, and I'm pretty sure Connor was a middle school student, and I was the worst substitute long-term teacher in the history of the world back then.
I
I
say
had no idea
I
what
remember having you as a sub.
I was
Yeah.
terrible, and well, you guys didn't help my cause any matter, but
Eh.
um, could be a rowdy group and a young, dumb, hot-headed me. I didn't know how to control myself, so I had a few yelling man. Yeah, never. Anyway, Martinsdale. Um, no, uh, what fostered that comeback against Bedford? We talked about momentum earlier, and you had
Well,
momentum in droves there.
I think we could say that first year down there. Can I go back one game because I want to go back
Yeah,
into to getting to state, which was a very unique situation. Kaylee Weiland was actually supposed to start because I actually believe this is one of the things that maybe made a huge difference for us to get down there. We're playing North Butler, great team,
yeah.
and Kaylee Weiland all of a sudden nervous, anxiety. She was almost going already out on the jump. She came off.
Huh.
Anna Mallon, because she said she wasn't feeling good, she came off. Anna Mallon comes in. Anna Mallon in the first half hit 4 threes.
Wow.
Anna Mallon don't shoot many threes, and this was as a sophomore, so Anna Mallon wasn't shooting many threes. And that might have been one of the big reasons why we were able to get that win is because Kaylee came back in and played great, but Anna being in there was just putting up shots from outside the 3-point range. And we got going, and next thing you know, we're up on North Butler. You know, as a first time getting there, we're all a little nervous about getting there. But and we had a group of girls where 7 to 10 points was the highest scoring girls we had.
Yeah.
I had 7 girls score over 200 points that year, and the thing. And so you're looking at that. So we got in with a great game against North Butler. We go down there, and I think we might have had the same syndrome the boys did, just a little bit nervous down there. Your expectations of what these girls wanted to do was great. I remember watching them walk in the first time when they walked into Wells. They walk in and get to see that they get these things, and the all looking around and they're all excited. But then all of a sudden, we were pressing the whole game. Sarah Mallon comes in and makes a comment about they're tired. They're tired. Coach, I can see they're tired. Brooklyn Savoy starts nailing some threes on the corner, and I think it just mushroomed on Bedford. I don't think they were quite ready for all of a sudden, here we come. This group of girls ran on emotion. And when we hit those threes, and all of a sudden you get back into your press after hitting the threes and you get some steals and get some stuff, and all of a sudden you're the other team and you see here goes 3 of these threes being knocked down, and the next thing you're going from 16 to 15 to 6 or 7 points. That really was what made a difference there, and we deflated them a lot, and I think that helped us out in that case. So having Brooklyn hit some threes made a big difference there.
Yep, that was a fun game to watch. That got you to the semis to Martinsdale, St. Mary. That's just a couple miles down the road from us here. Big tall girl, 6'3" maybe. She was, do you
Six
remember
four.
6'4"? Do you remember her name?
No, I don't. I don't really want to,
Yeah.
but
I don't know. It's
she
like
was very
sometimes in those situations, it's like I'll never forget what that girl's name is. So
well. We didn't do the greatest job, but we didn't do the worst job on her. And it was another girl that hit some shots that didn't hit any shots in the first game, and she hit those shots against us. And we played with them for quite a while. But when you got that big a girl, we had, and to be honest with you, we had 6 foot 6'1" Anna and Brooke. Kelly Schmidt was doing a heck of a job of rebounding, but we just couldn't. The big girl took up a lot of room, and as I said, they hit some shots. And just like anything in girls basketball, you can knock down some shots, you can make a huge difference in what goes on. And as I said, I think we should have been on the other side of the bracket. With the one loss being only 3A, I think we'd have faced Martinsdale St. Mary's in the state championship game. Would it have changed anything? I don't know.
never know though.
No, you don't. And because you don't know the next night how somebody would have reacted shooting or what was going on.
Yep, a little bit more pressure, and yep.
Yep.
I would say I remember your strategy against that girl, but that was actually my first date with my wife was the state basketball tournament. She lived in Pella, I lived up in Buffalo area. I said, I'm going to be down in Des Moines for the state basketball tournament. You want to meet me there? Sure, let's do it. So our first date was there. Coach Robin Drake showed up. So I spent about a quarter talking to him. And then my dad showed up and spent about the third and fourth quarter. He finally found us. And I'm leaving this first date going, I'm not getting a second date. And here we are. And every once in a while, I'm like, yeah, I'm going up to Britt for the football game. She's like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, our first date was a West Hancock State basketball game. You should just know by now that that's just the norm at this point. So
Yeah.
that's,
No.
yeah, it was a good time, minus the loss, but worked out well for me. So
Well, then if she went to Pella Christian, I wouldn't have wanted her there next year. Then when we played
nope,
in the
nope.
state game either.
She's a Fairfield girl, so she couldn't have cared less. So yeah. So yeah, that next season, it'd be your fifth season at West Hancock, bumped up to 2A. How'd you feel about the
Yeah.
bump to 2A? Were you like
Yes.
crap, or were
I
you like,
did.
you got a good
I
enough
didn't like
team?
the I didn't like the bump at all because I can tell you right now, we'd have stayed in 1A, we would have won 1A.
Yeah.
That is knowing the teams that were in 1A and knowing what was coming back because Martinsdale St. Mary's wasn't bringing the big girl back. Um, we would have won 1A. We should have won the first 2A game against Pella Christian. We were good enough to beat that team. We just didn't play very well, and actually, to be honest with you, the quickness and the ability of their big girls surprised us. We didn't get a chance to go watch her in person. We watched her on the videos, and I'm telling you right now, videos don't tell you or show you everything, and it really backfired on us.
Mhm.
Both Coach Wilson and myself, we talked about this. Coach Hesley was involved. We all thought we were going to be all right inside, and we did not prepare for the big girl inside for Pella Christian against us that year. And she wasn't even their best player, but she seemed to be able to take it to us a little more than what we were hoping. We had an opportunity at the end of that ball game to beat Pella Christian, just couldn't put the ball in the hoop.
Mhm.
And that's too bad with that group of girls. You're talking they made it to state with with one senior who wasn't even able to be at the whole state tournament the first year we ever went down. So those juniors and sophomores, 15 of them, all stayed out the next year, and they gave 2 great years. I mean, you're talking almost 50 some wins or better in those 2 years, and they just couldn't figure out a way to get by a few of the teams down there, and we just couldn't make our shot. So
And going back to the 2A thing, we were only in 2A for a couple years probably,
yeah,
and then we've been 1A ever since. So it just happened to be
no,
like,
no, I bumped us up to 2A for 2 years, uh,
okay,
trying to get us by Garrigan and a few other those teams at that point in time.
yeah, that's right, that's
And
right, yep.
actually, it would have worked, and I can explain that when we get there because that would have been Rachel's senior year. Which, if she doesn't get hurt, I think it's a
Yeah,
big
yeah,
difference
that's
for
right.
us. So,
But still, for the majority of the years, we're in 1A. Like
yep,
a good chunk of it. It's just happened to be that group had to fall in there. Brooke Husenveld, Sarah Mallon, Marcy Malin, Derica Jacobette, Caitlin Willer, Kaylee Weiland, Brooklyn Savoy, Courtney Zado were the seniors there. Then you had Anna Mallon, Caitlin Wilson, Kelly Schmidt, Melissa Lushin, Jessica Gray, Abby Potts, and Haley Hiscox coming back.
Well, and a lot like Connor talked about with his group of boys, Anna and Kelly and Caitlin and Melissa, and those girls are all coming back the next year.
Yep.
And here it comes. You said it. If Anna doesn't tear her ACL, if Kelly doesn't have carpal syndrome or or something in the back of her calf or whatever that she had some work done on, they got started slow, won the conference, but because they lost the first couple of those games, they moved us back in the rankings, and we ended up having to go to a place where we didn't have the benefit of having the better route to go to state, and I think it hurt us a little bit. And we also got kind of a not the greatest job of refereeing, I thought, down at Humboldt that year. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I talked to Kennedy Kelly the other day, and we'll get to her era here in a little bit, but like going to state twice, losing a lot of production. I always think sometimes coaches have their best coaching in those years where a big trophy doesn't make its way into the trophy case. So like
yeah,
19-4 that next year, with losing Sarah and all those girls and Kaylee and Brooklyn, like a lot of times you could have especially in small schools, because there's not just that next group coming in because you have, all those girls just at your whim there. And 19-4, just a game away from state, won the conference, like you said, ripped off 14 straight wins. Uh, then you had a lot of new girls, Maria Gonzalez being one of them, one of the kind of your first stretch of the Lear girls coming in with Emily.
yeah.
Uh, to me, that sometimes go from 26-1, almost make to the championship game to, oh boy, let's just hope we have a winning season next year. And you go 19-4. I think the best coaching sometimes happens in those after years.
Well, I think you're right there. I think the year of Anna's senior year, I think that's a good coaching job, but by all of us three coaches. But I still believe that's one that if you take the injuries away, I think we're probably 20 some wins.
Yep.
I think my best coaching jobs came maybe 2 or 3 years after that, because we had to rebuild. When
Yep.
you lose those 15 juniors and seniors in 2 years and there's nobody behind them. We
Yep.
had a class there where there was no seniors, or there was no, what would they be? Would have been juniors. So all of a sudden, the next year after you have those Sarah and Anna Mallon and all those girls going through, you now have a group with no seniors. They only won 6 games, but the things that we were able to teach those girls, they built the program back up to where you saw Rachel and those girls. And as we moved along, that made a big difference, I think, as we went along.
Yeah, because you went 6-16 the year after, like Anna Mallon graduated. And then this is where Bound gets weird with quick stats getting melted into it. I counted the schedule at 14-10. Bound said 16-8 in the conference standings. And so I'm like, I think by going game by game, that'd be more accurate. It said 14-10. I don't know if you have the stats in front of you. Someday I'm going to get all that stuff from you and scour through it for the records. But
Yeah, I've got a lot of it, but not with me right now. I should have had it with me, but
yeah, but within a
I
couple games, but still 6-16 to 14-16 wins or whatever, whichever one. That's
I think it was probably more along the 14-10, because then I think we went 16-8. Um, Trying to think in there. Um, uh, yeah, you're probably about right in that area. It might have been 2 years of a 14-10 and 16-8 as we moved our way up.
Yep, and then it looks like 19-4 coming up that next year. Lost to Okoboji in the postseason. Had a pretty young team. Uh, Kind of getting out of that rebuilding mode like you had talked about, where you had a down year or two. Jumping ahead to 2016, 2017, you lost to Turkey Valley in the postseason, went 19-4, and then the next year, 2018, 21-3. You lost to North Union twice in the regular season. Did they make it to state that year?
Um, would that have been Kelly's senior year, Connor?
Yeah, they made it to state that year, I'm pretty sure.
Well, yeah, because we should have made it to state that year. We had the injury of with Kelly had been hurt the year before, she was just getting back, had an ankle injury. Um, so it kind of threw us off a little bit what was going on. And I think that year we should have made it too. We just didn't quite finish it the game against Key because when we got in the bus, the hardest part of getting in the bus was to hear that both Garrigan and North Union had made state.
Yeah.
And we should have been at state that year too. And we just didn't finish it. And we had our opportunities at the end of the ball game. I believe it went overtime. So um, we had a young Rachel. We had a Kelly Lear who had been just had a few injuries. And I think coming back from that knee injury she had was just as nasty the year before at the end of the year. So she worked her behind off to get back to at least be able to participate. Um, and then we had I think Amanda Cheezick was actually coming back off an injury the year before, where she broke her foot. So a lot of people coming back, a lot of people a little nervous, a lot of youngsters in there, and that made a huge difference. And like I said, we got called for a few times of some interesting travel calls, but that's just the way things happen, and we just weren't able to make some of those things
Yeah, Paul,
finish the game out.
you should have a doctorate degree in kinesiology at this point, just from all the
Oh,
injuries you've seen on the basketball floor. Uh,
it's amazing that, like I said, I I think Coach Hesley and I were talking about this when we were at camp this last week, and we were going through and looking at all the times that we've had some of our top players have injuries, and um, that has hurt us
yeah,
because I think right now we could very easily. I go back to Anna's senior year, Kelly's senior year, Rachel's senior year. Amanda Cheezick maybe would have helped us in a little bit when her freshman year. She was having a pretty decent year. I simply put, I think we could have had another four state qualifying years
yeah.
if you stay healthy, as you said. If you can stay healthy and keep the rapport going between your team, because that healthiness and that ability to play with each other makes a huge difference. And we just haven't been able to have that every year.
Yeah,
So,
and that like going back to Connor, that three-peat with the boys, and we make such a big deal of a state tournament appearance because it's just your one knee injury or one little thing away from, oh, 19-4, that was a nice little season. We should have been at state. Like it's
Yeah,
just a
it it can
little
hit
bit
you
makes a
pretty
huge
quick.
difference. And
I mean, even for us, our senior year, my senior year, Ricky Ibarra and Vicente Gonzalez both got hurt in football season. They both tore their ACL in football season, and Ricky probably would have been a starter for us, and Vicente probably would have played off the bench. So
yeah.
both of those guys getting hurt just kind of hurt our depth as well, even my senior year.
And I know Coach P always talked about Gerardo Ibarra,
That too,
oh,
yeah.
going down in football. Who
Yep.
knows what would have happened that season? Well, they made state. I don't know, but you
Yeah.
had a chance.
it'd have
Uh,
been very close. Yep.
I forgot, Connor, you're married to Kelly Lear.
Yep.
Um, so we got to find him a college nearby Britt at some point because we got a Sonius and a Lear together. They're going to produce some good basketball players, right?
Well,
Um,
you hope so. That's exactly what I'm. That's what I'm looking for grandkids. That's exactly right.
Waldorf, Nyack.
Not a lot
Um,
close.
there's some close colleges. It'll be a nice little easy commute. So, um, your grandmother-in-law, Miss Lois De Leon, she's gotten to be good friends with Lois the last several years doing all the wrestling stuff I've been doing. She's a Hall of Famer next month.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Making your way back to Britt next month for Hall of Fame night, right?
Which night is it?
August 29th. You should have it in your
I
calendar
think
already.
I'll probably be back. I think we should probably be back for that, actually.
There you
Good job.
go. August 29th, Britt Golf Course after the game.
There
So
we go.
make sure you're there. I love Lois. She's great. She's
He's
just
awesome.
when I was writing the book and doing the stat book and stuff, gosh, got to ask Lois this thing. Lois, I got one question for you. 45 minutes later, she still hadn't answered the question, but we had the best talk ever. Like I love Lois. She's a great, great person. So
My main issue is Kelly always says if we have a boy and it's a short kid that they're going to be wrestlers, and I just don't
that
think that's going to happen. I got to tell her that's not the case. It's basketball only in this family. So she's like, we got the wrestling in the wrestling's in the blood on that side. So
Al De Leon's great grandson, you're gonna catch some flack for that one if he's not a wrestler. You better
Yeah,
hope
but
he's
there's
like 6'7".
basketball rules in this world. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah. Oh boy. You got to move to Britt. I just want to see how this works out. Got Coach Sanger on you. You got your dad on you. It's gonna be fun. So, Mitchell Smith did both the other couple years
Yeah.
ago. It'll be fine. So yeah, he wrestled and played basketball. He did okay.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, hey, let's go to state title game here, Paul. I don't want to get you guys to bed before midnight at this rate. So um, state title game in 2019 after a 21-3 season the year before. Won the conference title. Did something that hadn't been done since 1980, making it to a state championship game without a single senior on the roster. You had Rachel Lear as a sophomore, a ton of juniors, Kennedy Kelly as a freshman. I just did a podcast with her a couple weeks ago. You beat North Mahaska in the first round and beat Montezuma in the semis, which I'm very happy with that because the teacher right next to me at the time at Interstate was a North Mahaska grad, and the guy to the other side of my wall was a Montezuma grad. And so
Wow.
we were having it was a good week for me. We were talking a lot of smack, and the smack got less and less from them as the week went on. And then after those two wins, we talked on
Yeah.
several episodes of the podcast about that Newell Fonda team. They're just a juggernaut in 1A girls basketball, and they go to state in about every sport right now. They just played state softball this week as well. Talk about that season and getting to experience a state championship game.
Well, the season started off. I mean, we knew what we had. That group they had been coached a long time, and in both groups. The difference between that group and the first group, I like to call them the bullies of the North Star. That'd be the Mountain girls because they were big, and they weren't afraid to knock anybody around. This group was a little more finesse, had a little more quickness, probably in some cases of some of the things that went on. Um, they press just as well. When you have some of the girls at the top of that press, the ability to play it and do the things they do. And then, as you said, you bring off some of the girls off the bench. You got a Kennedy Kelly coming off the bench who is just wild and is going to go get the ball. And and to have a person like Amanda Cheezick inside, Mihaela Faust did a good job, Riley, Maddie, Eisman, those girls, they all knew their roles and they all played a very good job on their roles. But the best thing probably with this group too, not as deep probably as the group that won the first state or got to state the first time, but this group was probably a little bit closer with not as many people, and they knew each other very, very well. I mean, they could make passes to each other and knew where each other was going to be, and I think that was the biggest key. And I think what you would know the difference between this group was both both regional final games were not even close. They blew Panorama out. They blew Kingsley Pearson out. They blew them out, and that's basically because of how they played. When they would get a steal on a press, it was up quickly, scoring, knocking down a three. They could do a lot more at the threes than probably the other group could do. But again, played just as well as the other group did too. I would love to see both those groups go at each other.
Yeah.
I think the Mountain girls, the 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 physicalness might have been a little bit too much for the other group, but the other group would be able to handle with the shooting and some of the other things going on. North Mahaska, when we got to state, this group was all business. This group was all business. They walked in. It's almost like they weren't nervous about being there. You know,
Yeah.
as you said, you get sometimes that first time you get there with some group. So I don't know if I recall, this group they had written things to the group that went to state to begin with. And so they were actually had some letters that they had written to the girls that went
Oh,
to
nice.
state. So I believe, having gone down to watch some of the girls at state made a difference when these girls were young and they saw these girls going down to state. I think that now made a difference. As you said, your football guys are the same way. The guys that keep coming, see them going to state, know what's going on. And I think in this case, that made a difference. We went down, played North Mahaska, a very good team, beat them, Montezuma. And then you run into the buzzsaw. And the bad thing about that buzzsaw was they got the ball on the jump, scored right away, and the next thing you know, you're down 2-0. That's what we like to do, try to get the ball off the jump and score right away.
Yep.
And I think it just kind of, as fast and quick as they were able to get some buckets, I think it put us back on our heels a little bit. I do think maybe we were shell shocked a little bit early on, and then once we caught our feet, I think we were able to stay with them for a while. But then when you're behind them already when you get behind them early and you get behind, next thing you know, it gets to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points. you start to get a little frustrated because you just can't stop everything they're doing
Yep.
because they can keep coming in with so many girls. And no matter how good you are, if you played a game the night before like we did against Montezuma and you already have to play the next day, it took its toll on us.
Yeah. And
I,
you could have a week to prepare for that, but they send 15 girls, they just bring them in five at a time. Kennedy was like, it felt like there was 15 out there.
Yep.
And
I re
you could prepare and have your JV or even bring your boys team. It's just hard to simulate in a practice, let alone only having, what'd you have, like 18 hours to get ready for that game, including sleep.
I
So,
remember I was down there with you guys and I went to the shoot around that you guys had that morning. And I remember me and Brady Wilson, we both went with you guys to the shoot around
yep.
and we watched you guys prepare for the press. And, we're both talking about it before the game. Like, oh, yeah, like I think looks pretty good. Like, you can talk with you guys, like, yeah, everybody feels pretty good, pretty prepared for it. And then I just remember, like, they just came out and it was a whole different level and a whole different speed that those guys were playing at from New Fonda. And I mean, it makes sense now. They had a couple players on that team that are NAI All Americans. One was the national player this year, player of the year in the NAI. Gives me troubles now at my level. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just what do you do? It's just there is that was wild. I was at that game, brought my mom down, and she's like, "Wow, those girls, they don't stop moving." I'm like,
Nope.
and my dad was watching at home on the TV, and thank you IPPS, and he's like, they don't care if they foul. Like they have
Nope.
15 girls that have five fouls to give. Like they're just gonna be as aggressive as humanly possible every second of that game. And how do you simulate something like that? It's just
No, and you don't, and that's exactly right. You said they don't care if they foul because if they lose, if one of their top girls gets three fouls, she comes out, and another one at least comes in to be able to try to do somewhat close to them, and they're able to do those things. And after a while, your officials are only going to call so many fouls. After a while, they aren't going to keep calling it on them. And
yeah,
I said we learned that with my other group, the bullies. After a while, they quit calling the fouls, and
yeah,
it's not necessarily that's bad. It's just that they when you're the aggressor, you don't get quite as many fouls sometimes because you're already there ahead of what everybody else is going to be.
yeah,
And so they were at some of these spots before we were. So
yeah.
it was something that I think I was expecting that it would help us for the next year, and it actually would have. For the next year, I thought we got a bad luck go against us in that game, the next state tournament. So
Yeah, yeah. And the next year, 2019, 2020, followed up that state runner-up with a 25-2 record, a tie for the conference title. Another trip to state, again, bumped up to 2A. Very reminiscent of the first run. 1A, make a good run, bump up to 2A. This run, great run in 1A, bump up to 2A. Um, beat Logan Magnolia 57-31 in the first round. And then North Lynn beat us 61-46. And we had a sizable lead. You wouldn't look at that score and think that we would have had any kind of sizable lead at any point in the game, but we were had a great first half, and then it just kind of changed.
yeah, we that year I thought we played really well throughout the year. I didn't really have to be honest with you. Here's the ball, go out and play, and they would do just about anything that you tell them, and they would pick it up fast, and they knew what to do. So it really wasn't as much as coaching, as you said. Sometimes your best coaching is not when you have to do this because I didn't really have to do a whole lot. Every once in a while, you have to try to just maybe bring them back a little bit to get going. The only one that we had a couple games in there that I had to really work at maybe was the Garrigan game.
Yep.
Audie Crooks, I believe. No, yeah, Audie Crooks was, I believe, that year already.
Yep.
And we lost to them in the second game. We beat them in the first game. We lost to them in the second game, and so we had to try to figure out a way to stop her. I thought Amanda Cheesek did a pretty good job on her, but she's just tough, and they had the Joyce girl and stuff like that. So that hurt us a little bit there. But getting down to state, Logan, Magnolia, we just kind of shocked them. Northland, the problem with Northland was we were playing very, very well. And we had, I think, about a 12-point lead at halftime. And um, everything was going well. We were moving the ball well. And then all of a sudden, Amanda Cheezick in the second half got in foul trouble. And when Amanda Cheezick got in foul trouble for us, that hurt us because that's the big girl in the middle. And after Amanda, we didn't have a whole lot of big girls in the middle. And so when you take Amanda Cheezick out of that middle, it hurt us both defensively and offensively. Amanda wasn't one of our big time scorers necessarily that we always fed the ball to, but she got offensive rebounds. She also made people have to think about her,
Yeah.
which allowed all those girls the chance to shoot buckets and not have somebody on top of them. Whereas all of a sudden everything changed, and North Lynn also started hitting some threes from the corner with a girl that didn't make many threes throughout the year. And voila, the next thing you know, you're down, and it's just mushroomed right from there and got bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, and I,
So,
I always thought Amanda did a great job, even though
oh
sometimes,
yeah,
and she filled the stats at times, but it, I've always said it's nice to have a guy or a girl, depending on what, game you're watching. They might have 4 rebounds and a block, but they altered 38 shots that game. They made people think about what they were going to do before, they scared
yep.
them out of taking a good shot. You need those type of players.
Well, if you look at my state tournament teams, there's always been a big girl in the middle, and hasn't always been the scorers or whatever. Anna and Brooke didn't do that, but at least they're there, and those offensive rebounds they get are huge.
Yep, yep. So after that season, you lost that good group of girls, and I did a podcast with them. I don't know how long, it just all blurs together how long ago. Sometimes I get a little leery doing a podcast with some younger people because sometimes they stare at each other and go, don't know what to say. That was one of my favorite podcasts I've ever done. They were just awesome. Like they were just good, fun people to talk to, and they were so appreciative of the experiences. You could tell they were a close-knit group of girls. They were just really fun. I'm like, I could talk to you guys for 2 more hours. They
Yeah,
were just a fun group, and I think Anna, the Cheez It girl, Amanda, she was like overseas in Europe at the time, and she didn't tell me that. So we're recording, and one of the girl goes, "Are you tired?" And she goes, "Oh, a little bit." And I'm like, 7 o'clock. She goes, "No, it's actually 5 in the morning or whatever over here." So she neglected to tell me. I'm like, we could have timed it out a little better for you.
yeah.
She didn't want to, mess anybody else's schedule up. So they're a fun group. So the next year though, uh, the COVID year, uh, I still give Jay Hiscox crap, and I've said it on a few episodes. That was his first year as head coach, and I said, Jay, look at the attendance since you took over the program. It's just plummeted.
Yes, that's exactly
Uh,
right.
Having what, like 2 people per family at the game, contact tracing, social distancing, and it just killed me, especially during football. Keep everybody separate, and then they're spitting and slobbering and hitting each other, and then at the end of the game, you just got to wave goodbye. And I'm like, what
Yeah.
difference does that make when you've just been smacking each other around or bumping into each other? But you had Rachel Lear, you still had Kennedy Kelly. You guys had still a really good season. And then the next year with Rachel being gone, you still had Kennedy, 19-6 record. Or no, that was Rachel's senior year, and then Kennedy's senior year was 18-6. So again, that I always think that's a great sense of the program when you can lose all that production, state tournament teams, and still come back and darn near win 20 games a year.
Well, and you got to give those girls credit for what they did. I mean, Rachel played hurt
Yeah.
her senior year. Um, that made a big difference for us because I remember seeing the coach from Dyke, New Hartford. At that time, he walked in, and then when he saw me, he walked up to me as he's walking in. Right before us, we're getting all warming up, and girls are getting there. He looks at me and goes, "This game shouldn't be playing right now." And I said, "Yeah, I know." And he goes, "Because we both agreed that we shouldn't have been there, but part of that reason we were there was because the losses we got after Rachel got hurt,
Yeah.
and that kind of hurt us a little bit. So moved us down to have to play Dyke." He was hoping, like he said, this should have been in the first round of the state qualifying tournament or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you got Kennedy, blew out her Achilles her senior year. The call I got there was I'm at a place, and all of a sudden I get a call, and it's Kennedy, Coach. I blew my Achilles. No, you're joking. You're kidding me. She was playing AAU, and I said, no. I think I said that twice to her. No, Coach, I did. I said, oh God. And all I was thinking just, oh my gosh, here we go. I said, so then I start counting the months, of course,
Yeah.
down to whatever. And so yeah, no, and I think we got to a point where with Kennedy Kelly, after Kennedy Kelly, the number of girls that were probably involved in the AAUs or involved in going around playing basketball got a little bit less. So it dropped us down a little bit. And what that meant is we didn't have as many girls up there in the top, the seniors and the juniors, and all of a sudden you've got the younger ones. And now last year we won 10 games, and there's a lot of people who believe that we won 10 games last year. If you would ask them at the beginning of the year, and we won 10 games, beating two teams ahead of us, way ahead of us in wins, Belmont and Clarksville at the end of the year. So again, and we had sickness last year. It wasn't health. I'm trying to get some of these years when we're going to have some nobody being hurt or sick. We had a girl that was quarantined last year at the end, second leading scorer, and then my first leading scorer was sick throughout the week leading up to the playoffs. So again, we need to get some way to get through some of these and not have these injuries and these sickness, and I think that'll make a big difference for us.
Yeah. And your last 3 seasons, 13 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins. 100 plus other programs in the state would be tickled. We consider those down years. A lot of schools are like 10 wins a year average. That's pretty darn good. Like just we're in a
Yeah.
good place.
Yeah, no, we do. I mean, here at we say Eagle Nation here at West Hancock girls basketball, Eagle Nation, we believe that every year we come out, we're going to have a winning record, and we believe give ourselves a chance to go to state tournament.
Yep.
Are those high expectations? Yes, but I think a lot of the girls on throughout that have gone throughout all my teams would say that that's probably the biggest thing that's made a big difference for them is the expectations are there, so they need to work to get that, and they like that.
Yeah. Yep. If you don't set high expectations, you're not going to reach them.
That's exactly right.
And as a coach, I say that, and I always say like you get what you tolerate type of thing. And if you tolerate low expectations and tolerate poor work ethic, well, you're going to get that. That's what you're going to get. That's the expectation. That's just how it goes. So,
I need to get a few girls here that are going to be good enough so I can try to get my son to come recruit him for to send. He's got one now. I got to give him some more. So, but that one was a little bit the family oriented. So we got to get something outside the family, because
again, it always
Mallory
comes
went
back to who
Mallory
you
went to Briar Cliff.
good. Yeah, I wonder why. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's all about who you know. That helps. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, that's a good segue. And last thing for you, Paul, and then we'll jump into Connor's coaching here at the college level and get you guys to bed here before Thursday. Um, like, what 2021, you're inducted into the Iowa High School Girls Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Talk about that experience and what that meant to you.
The experience was awesome. A lot of guys that were coaches that went in with me. A lot of them had probably maybe I think just about all of them except another one or two. There was like 6 of us. Had a state championship under their belt. The one thing that I'm missing that I really badly want, but they were great guys. I mean, I talked with a lot of those guys. One of them looked at me and it was Guess, and I think he's from Valley or somewhere in that area. But he was talking about he got a lot of wins. I said, yeah. I said that's just because I have longevity, and so that was one of the things I asked was, did I make the Hall of Fame because of my longevity and having coached 6-on-6? They decided that somebody who's coaching 6-on-6 should be getting into the Hall of Fame. But I talked to some of the coaches and the people that got me in. That said, the way my teams play makes a big difference. The respect I give a lot of other coaches and the respect I get back from them, that is a mutual thing between us. And I think a lot of them see, how hard I work with my girls. And let's just put it this way. The Hall of Fame isn't me. The Hall of Fame is the girls that I have.
Yeah.
So for me to make the Hall of Fame, that's because I have such great, talented players who are willing to put in the time in the summer, who are willing to put in the time to listen to me, to be able to be willing to play for me. And so that to me is who this Hall of Fame is for. It's for all of those girls that have put in the time for the last 37 years of my time of being a coach. And again, as I said, a lot of these girls, I heard from a lot of these girls involved in the Hall of Fame, and it's theirs, not just mine, it's theirs.
Yep.
So that's how I look at it, because, and I'm sure, you look at the others, Bob Singer's probably the same way. The boys, he'll tell you the same way. it takes you don't become a great coach just by yourself. You got to have the girls who are willing to put in the time and effort.
Yep. And Dale and Kevin, you got to have a
Yep.
good
Oh,
staff. Yep.
yeah. My staff has been here at West Hancock. My staff has been fabulous. I still believe that. Why is West Hancock girls basketball winning? We have great continuity with me and Kevin and Dale. The three of us have been together for 18 years.
Yep.
Um, they want to get out of it. I won't let them out of it.
No,
I
they
will
don't.
not let
They
them out of
don't.
it.
They say that, but they don't.
I know, and I keep bringing them back, and they love the girls just like I do about the way they play and the way they get at them. I had a guy at CWL Bristol Prebe who he'd be another one. He was great because he knew exactly what I wanted. I didn't even have to look back, and he'd be putting the person I wanted in for subbing in, and he would do it without no problem. So
Yep.
I have that same relationship with Dale and Kevin, and I would have no problem sitting over and saying, "Go ahead, guys, you run practice," because they would run it a lot like me. Maybe the only difference would be maybe they're not quite as intense as I am. I'm kind of a intense coach, and
Yeah.
you know I have expectations for my girls, and I think that's why you don't get yourself up there in the Hall of Fame unless you are one of those coaches that's going to push your girls to be the best they can be. So
Yep. Yep. And I've done 138 of these now. Pretty much everyone deflects off of themselves to others. And all the Hall of Famers I've helped induct, I write up a page on all their accolades. As soon as I pass the mic over to them, what do? They start talking about their coaches and their teammates and their
oh yeah,
families. That's just, and you talk about longevity. Longevity is a big deal in itself. Like how many coaches make it? Who was the old Newman softball coach, Tom Dunn?
yeah. Is he done?
He's been for a while, I think, but I
Oh,
just remember in the paper once he said he doesn't start learning names of coaches until year two because a lot of them only make it a year. And so he's like, it's not worth my memory space to know him until I see him a second year. Because a lot of coaches realize quick, this isn't for me, this isn't my thing. It's not going to be Connor's case. He's going to be head coach for a long time. But
Hope so.
oh, I think he's got all the tools to be
yep,
a great coach. I think you've got to be able to handle. You got to understand. You. I don't know if he has to handle the parents as much as we got to handle the parents in the high school ranks,
yep,
but I think you've also got to understand that a lot of girls that are playing for me aren't basketball isn't their number one sport all the time either, and for some it's you talked about New Fonda. You've got all those girls, but I know some of those girls went and played other sports
yep,
instead of playing basketball in college. So basketball wasn't their number one sport, but they gave themselves to basketball to help their friends too. And you got to remember when you have a group of friends that are playing and you're going to be with them, I think that's a big bonus for you and that's why New Fonda does so good in all these sports because all these girls give to each other as a team,
yep.
and that needs to happen. So I think any great coach, Hall of Fame coach, when I did the Hall of Fame, probably one of the most important things down there was my assistants came down, my whole family came down. I had Connor Kelly, I had my two daughters and Danny's kids. I had my wife, my mom, I think was down there. I had everybody. It was that's what makes it so special because my wife has been I don't know how many games she has been to, but she really wasn't much of the sports person when she was growing up. You can see my
Is
laugh from
now.
my son there. Not much of the sports person, but she has been an amazing coach's wife. And you think about it, high school baseball, high school girls basketball, junior high football. Very seldom did she not make many of those things. Then you talk about all the things that she's made for our kids. So
Yep.
you got to have one of those behind you,
Oh
and
yeah.
you know that as a coach too. So
Every good coach has a equally good or better wife behind him. So
yeah, yep,
yeah, Lois De Leon, Linda Sanger, all the like it's just all that.
yep,
Um, Last question, Paul. I get to Connor here for a few minutes.
yep.
Do you have a second coaching outfit, or is it only just the khaki pants and that red 3-inch sweater thing you wear every game?
Well, I think about every 2 or 3 years we find a different type of thing to wear for the top. And then I don't know. It's us old guys. Us old guys don't go out and buy all these new. I don't quite get as snazzy looking as my son does sometimes when he gets dressed up and doing stuff. And of course he gets all this new stuff, from the college. And you know, high school doesn't give me all this new stuff for me at the high school. So, um, I don't know. I'm kind of a very superstitious too. I'll tell
Yeah.
you that right now. If I were to win in something, you're going to see me win, and I'll be wearing it quite a bit. Is what I'm going to
Yeah.
do. I'm bad at that. I'll tell you that right now.
I've
Yep.
I've tried to get him to look a little better on the sideline. I tried to get him in some like Nike dunks or something like that, but he's not.
I'm not saying it's a bad look. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying when I tune into a game on KIOW,
Yeah.
I know exactly what Paul's going to look like on the sideline. Like it's just if he didn't, it would be like, whoa, he changed it up. That's crazy.
Well, okay. I've got two different things. We wear something for home and something for away. And I got in trouble because a gray shirt. I wore a gray shirt and khaki pants one night. Oh my Lord. When I got home, it wasn't anything about the game. What were you doing wearing those two things together? You need to wear black pants with that gray shirt. So I had to get black pants to wear with the gray shirt. Couldn't do the khakis anymore. I got in trouble for that one at home. So yeah, my wife tries to dress me up a little better each time. So
And I'm the
we're
Bob
working at it.
Sanger. I'm the Bob Sanger coach when it comes to apparel. It was whatever he was wearing that day is what he was wearing to that game. And as a golf coach, sometimes I have 3 meets a week, 4 meets a week, and it's just like whatever's clean is what I'm wearing to that meet. Apparently, as long as it says Roadrunners on it, I'm good. So
Yep.
Wow, my kids at school will tell you too. They always ask me, "Hey, do you wear this on Mondays?" And so I have my Monday wear, my Tuesday wear, my Wednesday wear. It's probably pretty much the same probably been the same for a long, long time. I don't buy
yeah,
many new clothes. Clothes aren't one of my priorities.
yeah.
So again, I'm all right with what I've got.
As I'm
So
wearing my Central football shirt from 2006, and I like it. I'm wearing it. All right,
you
Connor,
betcha.
I'm going to do an episode with you and Nate someday, so we're going to cut
Yep.
Yeah.
this short because we've been at this for almost 2 hours, I believe. So real quick here, head coach Briar Cliff women's basketball. What led to that point of you getting this head job at such a young age? You were played at BV, GA or whatever at Grandview, assistant at Briar Cliff, I believe, and now boom, head coach.
Yeah, so I played at Buena Vista, transferred to Grandview for my last year, and then was able to jump on as the graduate assistant on the men's side there for 2 years. Got to work for Coach Schaefer there. Learned a lot of great things working for him there for 2 years. And then I got the opportunity. We were moving over to Sioux City, and Briarcliff had an opening on the women's basketball side. And the coach there, Brian Ortmeyer, at the time, he had just taken over the job, and we had some mutual connections through Coach Schaefer, knew the men's coach from where Brian was at previously, and I was lucky enough to get to be the assistant job, and I got the job like 2 weeks before the school year started that year. It's kind of a crazy thing, and we went on a crazy run, and we kind of jump started it right away. We went to a Sweet 16 our first year and won a GPAC tournament championship for the first time in program history, and then we followed that up by going to the Elite Eight the next year. And then this past year, we went to the Final Four. So
Nice.
we were able to kind of parlay 3 really good years together. The head coach that worked that I worked for, he ended up going to Wayne State to be the head coach there. And I was lucky enough that they brought me into the office the next day and asked me if I wanted the job. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to be the head coach here. So it's kind of a cool thing. A lot of the girls wanted me to stay on as the head coach, and I could have went with and been the assistant at Wayne too if I wanted to. But the opportunity to be a head coach kind of at this age and get a chance to coach a really good team at a young age too. We have our first team All-American from last year is coming back this year. So we have some really good incoming freshman class as well. Got some good young players. Obviously Mallory is on our team too. So we got some really good young players that we're excited about. And the only thing that's tough is the pressure's on me in year one. I got some coaches that have like Final Four is the expectation already in year one. So they're putting a lot
Yeah.
of pressure on me as a first time head coach at the college level.
Yeah. How much of your job is PR and logistics and like just being the person at the top, and how much of it's actually coaching?
Yeah, I mean the nice thing at our level is it's not quite as much as like the D1s and the D2s where you have to do the PR stuff. We have some of that stuff. we're meeting with different people, and I'm always talking on the phone quite a bit with different people. And since becoming the head coach, my phone feels like it's blowing up way more.
Yeah.
Just in contact with tons of different people. I'm getting email from people all over the time about recruiting different players and things like that as well. But the cool thing about the coaching world is, especially at the college level, is you get to just meet so many different people. Like you get to coach. I've gotten to meet so many different coaches. I've gotten the chance to you get to meet with all these families when they bring their kids on recruiting visits. You get to you learn a lot about a lot of people, and you kind of get to know a lot of connections out there. And then you get to do a lot of coaching too. Like at our level, it's kind of nice because I get to be really hands-on with the players. We've been doing workouts now for the past like 7 weeks, so we kind of finish up our summer workouts here next week, and then we get to do a lot of hands-on stuff as we get going in the year. And I got some different PR stuff, obviously with I have to do like weekly radio stuff now that becoming the head coach, and it's different things like that. But still, a lot of it at our level gets to be really hands-on with the coaching aspect, which I really like.
Yeah. And you'll get to do the coach talk where you say a lot of things, but you don't actually say anything. Um,
Yep.
say the politically correct right thing all the time. Uh,
Yep.
I'm friends with coaches. You hear them on the radio or doing the press, and I'm like, gosh, it's just sickening what you say. And then you talk to them on the side, and you're like, there we go. That's what people want to hear, but you can't. You
Yep.
know?
What are you talking about? I think all my talks in the morning shows on those Saturdays, they're all good.
Yeah, yeah, all great. Yep,
I think,
nothing sugar coated. So
yeah, I think one of the cooler things with coaching at Briar Cliff last year was so Waldorf, they just joined our conference last year. And we got to go up and play at Waldorf last year for the first time as a coach. And then Mallory obviously being on our team. So we had coming back to Waldorf last year, we had a ton of people from West Hancock that were there filling the stands
nice.
to watch Mallory play. And I think that was one of the coolest things. Like in the gym, we're playing a road game, and probably 50% of the stands is in there from West Hancock cheering on Mallory. So I think that's kind of one of
Nice.
the cool things. We'd love to see everybody out there again. Same thing when we come to Waldorf this year, just cheering on Mallory and kind of showing up to support our Briar Cliff team, which is a cool thing about West Hancock fans. Is like when we're coming close and we're in town and you have a former West Hancock player that's on the team, like they show up and they always support you even when you're done playing at West Hancock.
Yep, yep. The
And I
support's
and
always
one thing
there.
about that, I like that, as he just said, I think at West Hancock, your coaches and other people, I think what was it, kind of down in Central you were playing when you were at BV, and Bob was down there, and Bob Singer was down there watching him in the stands. So, um, as I said, I think that's one of the things I like here about West Hancock. Once you've been part of West Hancock, once people know who you are, when you go somewhere else and you do something else well, they want to come either come watch you, or they keep updated on what you do
Yep,
by either asking somebody or watching you on the news or watching somewhere. And I think that's a big part of West Hancock.
yep, definitely. Yep, that's a great way to end this thing. Connor, I got to get you and Nate on. We're
For
got to
sure.
really break down your couple seasons there going to state. We got to talk more about Briar Cliff. We could do this all night. It's gonna be one of my longer episodes I've ever done. And I always tell people after we get done recording, I'll just say it now. I'm like, did that go fast? And people look at the clock and go, holy crap, that was an hour. That was an hour and a half. Same thing here. I'm like, that was 2+ hours, and it did not feel like it at all when you get this thing going and get talking about stuff. I
You
could
got
talk
some
about
coaches
West
that can
Hancock
really
all day.
talk.
What's that?
You got some coaches that can really talk.
Yeah, but you guys said something, not like the interviews you got to do where you actually say nothing.
True.
So, well, we're gonna wrap it up there. Gosh, we might have to do a part two, and Connor definitely got you and Nate on here.
Yeah, for sure.
Next week, I got a very different episode with Jesse Barker, good friend of mine. We're gonna really have a good time. Lana Wicks, she's a stud female athlete from Kanawha from the 1960s, lives out in California. Tony Morris is coming up. Alan Miller used to be a middle school teacher at Kanawha. And then Kristen Jenn, talk about a lady who's done a lot of things in her life, a lot of cool things. Yeah, we're gonna end it there. Those are my next 5 episodes. I really appreciate you guys coming on. Um, thanks a lot. Thanks, Paul, for what you've done for West Hancock for so many years. Connor for adding those trophies to the case at the school, and just being a good role model for those younger kids. I just remember hearing things from people talking about that. Those group of kids were always really important to that next generation of Eagles. So, any last minute things you guys want to throw out, and then we'll wrap this up.
No, thank you very much for having me on.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. And as
Same thing.
always, go Eagles.
Go
Go
Eagles.
Eagles.